Are we live? Is this thing on? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to our special Week 6 slate. We are going to go over everything Week 6. We got pick-ems. We got NFL props with our guy NFL DFS picks. We got DFS advice. You name it. Start sit questions. Whatever you need, we got it. But before we do all that, I got to introduce my two guys, my two co-hosts here. I got my guy to my left. That's NFL DFS picks. And the guy under me, that's my mind is a weapon, fantasy football. That is Sleazimus Decimus Meridius, Sleazeball. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves to the folks? We'll start with you, Dan. Introduce yourselves to the folks. Let them know where to find you. And, yeah, man, let's get it popping. Dan, what's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? I'm Dan Neely. I am with NFL DFS picks. I have most of my content right now is out on X. So get a sub on X and you'll get all kinds of bets and DFS advice.
Sweet. Sleazeball, introduce yourself.
How's everybody doing? I'm Derek, a.k.a. Sleazeball. You can find me at My Mind is a Weapon fantasy football show across every single platform. Sleazeball FF. I pretty much try and cover everything in fantasy football, and I'm glad to be here, man. Let's get it going.
Glad to have you here, buddy. Let's get it popping. We're going to make a lot of money for a lot of folks this weekend. So let the folks know we're live. Let them know we're.
Should I just deposit more right now?
Definitely. Well, I'm not going to say no to that because I definitely doubled down on my research and it's looking hella good this week. And yeah,
right.
When I broke it down the way I broke it down, the locks just seem to make sense. So I really like it. I really like it a lot. But with that being said, Dan, I'm glad you're okay because obviously you were in the the eye of the hurricane, so to speak. You were kind of like right in the center of it. Didn't really have internet or cable, and yet you're here. You know, your research is still taking priority. You're still doing your stuff. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad the family's doing well, and thank you for taking the time to make it here. Let's catch up with the chat. Sleaze says, first, let's roll. My wife subscribed. Let's go. She's a YouTube member. Bing King, what's up, buddy? He's in the building. Mr. Magic, he says, yo, what's up, Magic? Happy Saturday, says Kobe and the Cattle Dogs. And let's rock. Okay, guys, are you guys ready to get rocking?
Hang on, let me send the link to my boys real quick through soon.
Sweet. What's up, Andrew? Good to see you, Andrew. And did you want to hop in the stream, Andrew? If you're free, man, I'll gladly have you, buddy. But yeah, let's start with the first game. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are actually 1-point dogs against the Chicago Bears. Game kicks off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time in London. The over-under is 44.5. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start with, the game itself, the lines, the spreads, anything you like. Then we'll go by position and talk about what you like based off of props, based off of start, sits, so on and so forth, any projections. So we'll change things up a bit, but we'll still keep it classic.
What's up,
Andrew? Good to see you, Andrew. So Dan, we'll start with you, buddy. What do you like in terms of money line or spread or over under here? What are you taking? Who do you think is going to
win? You know what? I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I like the over. And, looking at my research suggests that this is a game Chicago should win. So I'm being that the spread's about even. I like Chicago and I like the over in this game.
Okay. What about you, Sleaze?
I agree. I'm going Chicago and the over. Are we rolling through pick'ems right now that we'd like to as well?
Yeah. So we'll go by position.
By position. So we're going quarterbacks first. Okay.
Yeah. So once again, I'll introduce the game to everybody, and then we'll go by position, and then we'll go on over there. So I personally like. I just gifted a couple of great people some memberships here. So I personally like Jacksonville to either cover the spread or win. I'm just going to take Jacksonville straight up money line. I also like the over as well. It really comes down to what kind of Caleb Williams are we going to see. I appreciate the gifted from you as well, Sleazeball. Let's go. You got some good people there. But with that being said, let's talk quarterback. Sleaze, we'll start with you. The quarterback matchup. What do you like about them? Is there any props, picks that you like here? People you're definitely starting, people you're definitely sitting. Talk to me.
So before I dive into it here, first of all, shout out to Andrew. Thanks for joining the show yesterday, man. You did good. It was no script, nothing. We were just all the cart going after it. That was solid. Welcome back anytime too. Dude, I like a lot in this game. I think just like Dan said here, I think it's going to be over big time. I think it's going to be a lot of yards, a lot of scoring. I mean, I think if I'm looking at the quarterbacks, I like the 9.5 rushing for Trevor Lawrence and the 243 passing for Caleb Williams. I think he smashes 300 back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love that you said that because one of my locks, just based off of my research in general, looking at this, is Caleb Williams. If you're looking at the Jags, they allow 298.8 passing yards, right? Caleb's at what, 244.5. I even like the Caleb rushing and passing as well. Both of them, I think, are absolute smashes. So those are either one of those are my locks this week. What about you, Dan?
I totally agree. So I've been doing this new point system for all my players, every position, and essentially right now the highest score I have this week for quarterback is Caleb Williams with a score of 40. So he's my QB1 this week. I have Caleb Williams over completions at 21.5. I have Caleb Williams over passing yards at 243.5. I like Caleb Williams over 1.5 touchdowns. I know they don't have it on here at the moment, but they might throw that back on there. And I like Caleb Williams to not throw an interception. I like him to be under interceptions. Jags are not picking off any passes at all this year. So it would be the first interception I think that they have. It would be off Williams. So I'm willing to bet on that. And then as far as Trevor Lawrence goes, he has actually the worst score out of any quarterback in the entire NFL this week in my chart here. He's at -15. I have this as probably the biggest mismatch in the NFL, just from a defensive standpoint, what the Bears can do against a quarterback compared to what the Jags do against quarterbacks. I don't like anything at all except for Lawrence to throw a pick. So I think that over a half of a pick thrown for Lawrence is a good bet. Other than that, I'm staying away from everything Lawrence, and I'm just about doing anything good for Williams.
Heard. I like it. I like it.
I'd like
All
to
right,
throw in the Brisker's out though too. That's a big one. He's a superstar.
You have a very great observation there. Antonio says, "What's up? What's up, Antonio?" Mr. Magic says, "Is Dobbins going to go nuclear this week?" I'm going to go ahead and say no. What do you guys think?
I think he's going to be a solid play because I think it's going to be a run fest, like we talked about yesterday on the show. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing, and again, the tight end is both the weak spots, and they don't have any tight ends really in this game. So I like that Ladd McConkey call too. But I think he's going to be a solid RB2. I think you're going to see 20 touches. You got Gus ruled out. They're going to either pull up Hassan Haskins or Kamani Vidal. So, I mean, this is going to be the J.K. Dobbins show, and I think he's a solid RB2 this week, even in an ugly matchup.
Are you going to sell high after this game if he does smash?
I don't even want any ownership of J.K. Dobbins. I would try and sell it all season long.
Okay. What do you think, Dan? Dobbins going to smash this week?
I wouldn't put him high on the list, but if I had him in my season-long fantasy league, I'd certainly feel better about starting him than a lot of the other guys that you have to run out there this week. As far as Dobbins goes, for me, I have him like a startable RB2, kind of low on the spectrum. His matchup score turned out to be 3. And that's not negative. And my high score is 49. So it just goes to show you, like, he's low end in the research that I've put out.
Perfect. All right. Let's jump on to the next topic, which is the running backs here. I guess I'll kick it off, and then we'll go Dan, then Sleazeball. Just based off of my research quickly, it's right here. Jags give up 57 receiving yards to running backs versus 77 rushing yards. So I really don't love Swift's rushing yards currently. I believe here, let's pull up Swift's rushing yards. I
50.
believe his rushing yards is 50.5. I don't love it, right? Because it could also be Rojo.
I'd say Rojo saw 20% snaps. He's not like a split him backfield guy. He's more just the goal line work.
There we go.
So,
what's up, Andrew? Thank you for joining us. But 19.5 receiving yards when they give up that many receiving yards is pretty easy. I call that a lock. I absolutely love that. And then I like Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby over the rushing yards. Based off of my research here, Bears give up 102.4 rush yards to running backs. Etienne's props is at 43.5. Bigsby's at 40.5. I think you're good with either or. And those 3 props, Caleb, DeAndre Swift, and either Bigsby or Etienne rushing yards, those are my locks. What do you like about the running back matchup since you just joined us here, Andrew? Talk to me.
Well, I look at it this way. I mean, Jacksonville's going to need to do some running to get, be effective because, I mean, you're not going to have Evan Ingram this week out there for Jacksonville again. So I think that Chicago should be able to run the ball quite well, actually. I think they're going to be the ones who are looking
Wait. Slow down. Evan Ingram was just updated to play, I thought.
What?
Yeah,
What?
Hang on. Before you dive in any further. Expected to play on Sunday. I just wanted to get that for you.
Okay, well, hey, I did not know that because I was seeing where, I was reading, it was questionable. Okay, my mistake. So, yeah.
It just popped like 20 minutes ago, so you're chilling. I just saw it, so I was like, okay, let me throw this in for you.
Wait a minute. Yeah, late. Okay, well, all right, in that case, take 2, action. Yeah, in terms of the whole running game out there, I really think that, like I said, this very well could be kind of a ground and pound kind of game on both sides because that's just the way I see this happening. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, one good week doesn't really, do a whole lot for me. Getting Ingram back apparently will now help him out, but I'm still not terribly sold on the passing game on Jacksonville. Chicago's not okay with it, but they could do better. So I really think that the running backs are really going to grind it out a lot in this one. And besides, those overseas games, they always have that flavor to them. They don't really like open up and air out. They just really more pound and ground and get it done,
Absolutely. And Travis Etienne usually goes nuclear in London, and they're always in London. All right, Dan, talk to me, buddy, about the running backs. What do you think? What do you got here? You're our props guy. You're our parlay guy. Cook us a mean parlay here, brother. Talk to me.
You know what? I really love Swift in this matchup. I had to do the research to hop on board, but he has a really high score this week for me. I love his receiving yards here at 19.5. I feel like that's no brainer. I really feel like, I like Swift to score a touchdown too. I do really like Etienne too. Another guy that I really was actually benching on my fantasy leagues, and I have him in a few leagues, and I had him on my bench, and I have to go back in and readjust some lineups because research suggests I got to play him. I just got to hope that he gets the carries over Bigsby. I'm concerned about this situation. Bigsby's been great, and Travis Etienne's not been very good, and he's banged up, but they've cleared him to play. Coach has come out and said that it's his job. So I'm going to trust that. And I really like his receptions. I really like Etienne's receptions this week. I think that 16.5 receiving yards is got to be a good bet in this. If I like his receptions that much, I should definitely like his receiving yards being that low as well. So if I was going to click something here, I would click 16.5 receiving yards for Etienne. And then as far as like Roschon Johnson goes, this guy's been hitting this rushing prop every game this year. So, I mean, it just seems like a real easy smash. I was watching Bayou earlier. He looked it up. Roschon's hitting that every week. And you know, I'm concerned about Bigsby. I don't know what to do there, so I'm just going to leave him alone. 40's a bit high, you know. I mean, if we thought he was definitely 50-50 roll, I'd consider it, but I'm going to leave him alone.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Thank you, Dan. Sleazimus Decimus Meridius, talk to us about running backs.
So, man, this is one of those things where I just would like he's saying with Tank Bigsby and ETN. I don't know if I think it's going to be the ETN show. I think he's pissed off. I think he's had a bad start. I think that shoulder's been bothering him. It's knocked him out of a couple games here, and that's made Bigsby relevant. And people are tripping on something that I don't think is really there. I think that this is going to be the ETN show. I would go under on Bigsby's rushing, but I don't love it. I think I agree with Dan. Roschon, I like the rushing. I think he smashes 24. I like DeAndre Swift's rushing at 50 as well. I have no problem with that. But the only weird thing is Jacksonville, they give up 77 yards only to the running back a game. So that's kind of rough. But he's been popping off. Like the longest rush looks nice at 13.5. He's cracked that in both games. That the last two easy matchups. I like the receiving yards as well for ETN and Swift. But with the Jags, I would only take the receiving for ETN.
Okay,
and I'm not touching Bigsby.
Okay, I like it. I like it. We're a little bit across the board here. Andre says, "Sup, fellas? What's up, Andre?"
I'd like to thank Dan for DeAndre Swift for Zamir White too. Thank you.
Yeah, that was not that good for me, but we'll see how that goes. I have the whole Raiders backfield, so I'm anticipating that to eventually be worth having.
All right, all right, please. Since you do videos on defense start sits, who would you rather start? Bears defense or Broncos defense?
Oh, Bears. They're going to pick off Trevor Lawrence twice.
Nice.
I think his interception is one thing I like as well for Lawrence over.
Okay. Ladies, Cap for Life says, ladies and gentlemen, 14-team PPR league flex spot. Gibson, Mitchell, Schultz, Leggett. Thoughts on Vidal? I have JK. My thoughts on Kamani Vidal, like I said all offseason, and like I said yesterday on Sleazeball's stream, I don't know what language his name is, but the direct translation is Isaiah Spiller 2.0.
The only Vidal I'm interested in has soon after, and I put it in what's left of my hair. That's where I'm going with this one. No, not those are my thoughts on Vidal. Maybe a good shampoo and okay conditioner. I like the scent, but not a running back. No.
I'm going to lean with Dalton Schultz here. I think Dalton Schultz is going to pick up where Nico left off. I think the targets that are vacated there are going to funnel over to Dalton Schultz. He also says, what are we doing with Devontae Adams? Andrew, why don't you answer that?
We're taking a wait and see approach because the trade deadline is still coming up here. It's a little ways out, but at the same time, it's like let's just hold and see where he goes, and then make a more informed decision there. Because if Devontae Adams were to go to say Buffalo as opposed to say Kansas City, which is highly unrealistic, or if let's say Devontae Adams ended up in Arizona, 3 different destinations, 3 different outcomes. You don't really know what to do right now. It's just hold the line on him, see where he lands, if anywhere, and then play it from there.
Brian Thomas Jr. is good at football, says Al Paul. I agree. He's great at football. This one's for you, Dan. Tank Dell or Darius Slayton, full PPR. Thank you for tuning in, Ship of Fools.
Look, man, I love Slayton this week. I'm going to go with Slayton. I do like Tank Dell too, but Christian Gonzalez is a phenomenal corner, and Tank Dell is probably going to have him on him, more than likely traveling. I don't see him traveling with Diggs. Diggs plays mostly all in the slot, and I don't think that's the Patriots' best interest to put their best corner in the slot all game. So I'm going to go with Slayton. Last week, he had over 30% target share. I expect him to stay in that role this week, and if he gets 12 targets, I really think that you can't pass up the opportunity for 12 targets.
But here's the thing, right? So I'm going to push back a little bit here. If we're talking about two wide receiver sets, there's not really going to be an opportunity for Dell to line up at the slot, and I'm assuming he's going to be the wide receiver 2 out wide when they do go into two wide receiver sets. So I don't necessarily think the whole slot thing is
Hang on.
necessary. Yeah, go ahead.
I got something. So Christian Gonzalez and Stephon Diggs have been having shit talking going on Twitter, and Christian Gonzalez is 100% guarding Stephon Diggs this week.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. I think he's going to get shadowed everywhere. But hey, man, we all have opinions, and maybe Dan's right, maybe not. But it's good to have these discussions because it makes you think about everything, right? All right, this one's for you, Sleaze. Would you play Slayton over Dobbins this week? I'm assuming this is full PPR.
I'll answer them both. I mean, yeah, Darius Slayton had great, one game. I started in one league too. I'm still so risky for me. I know he popped, and everyone likes to see the pop, and the Bengals are bad versus the pass, and blah, blah, blah. I think it's more of a Wandale game here for the New York Giants this week. And I'd rather take the safe floor of Dobbins, and then back to the first one, I'd rather take the safe floor of Gibson.
Yeah. I'm gonna lean here and agree with Al Paul. He says playing any and all Giants players, Bengals defense is absolutely atrocious. I'm gonna definitely start getting some Tyrone Tracy in my drafters DFS lineups. All right, let's talk. Let's just wrap this game up. Let's talk wide receivers. Let's talk about the tight ends as well. If I'm looking at the props here, right, for the wide receivers and I think it's pretty free, even though we're going to see the Bears send what's their best coverage guy there? He was on hard. What's his name? The Bears cornerback there.
Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson. There you go. I still think Brian Thomas Jr. 22.5 longest reception. It was actually at 25.5 yesterday. I still think that's borderline free. Am I willing to bet on it? Absolutely not. I don't love the receivers for the Jacksonville Jaguars whatsoever in this matchup. I will say the longest reception seems like a very viable option for every one of the Chicago Bears receivers. 22.5 for the longest reception for DJ Moore, 17.5 for Keenan Allen, 19.5 for Roma Dunze, and it's crazy. Roma Dunze's receiving prop yesterday was at 31.5. It's jumped up 10 yards today. I still think it's a smash. In terms of the tight ends, this is a bad matchup for both tight ends. Obviously, Evan Ingram is the glue that keeps that offense together, but I'm not willing to bet on any one of these guys. Evan Ingram, if he is in your lineup, is a must start. Cole Kmet, I think, is a must sit this week. Let's go over to, but yeah, I'm not betting on any of the props, not the under or the over. Let's go to Andrew. What do you think about the tight ends and wide receivers here? Who do you like? Who do you dislike? Any props?
Not really feeling the tight ends at all. I mean, Kmet hasn't really done a whole lot this season to really, take notice. Ingram, I want to see what he actually does on the first game back after being out for a while, see what his target share looks like. Wide receivers, nothing that really just jumps off the page and excites me. So I'm still kind of staying away from the whole group on this one and potentially investing in other games.
Okay, I like it. Dan, you're up.
I got a couple things in receivers and tight ends that I like. I really like DJ Moore this week. He's popping. He's really, really high on my list. One thing I really like for Moore is his receptions at 5.5. I think this longest reception at 22.5 is really, really enticing. I think that 65.5 receiving yards is really enticing. You could roll the dice, and I'm probably going to have all three of those in 3 different cards, to be honest with you. So I like them all. I'm going to try my best not to use the same one over and over again because I like them all so much, right? So I feel like that's real important to do when you like a lot of stuff. Don't just settle on one. If you're doing a lot of cards, spread it out. That way you don't lose every single card on the same thing. For instance, I like DK Metcalf the other day for longest reception. I liked him for yardage. I split it up. I didn't get killed with yardage on all my cards because he hit his longest reception. That being said, Cole Kmet, I have him down for longest reception. 15.5 seems pretty low for him. The Jags give up some of the highest yards per catch to tight ends. They play a lot of man defense, so he's going to have a chance to catch it, break a tackle, and pick up some extra yards. And he's a tough guy. He's tough to tackle, so I like the longest reception for him. And other than that, I'm kind of staying away from everything. If I was forced to do something, I would go under the longest reception for Evan Ingram. 16.5 feels a little long for a guy coming off a hammy. I could see him catching 5-6 passes for 5-6 yards a pop, more so than I could see him getting down the field and getting 17 yards on one catch.
Hurt. Sleazimus, Decimus Meridius. Wrap it up for us, brother.
I'll be quick here. I don't like anything from the tight ends here. Evan Ingram's first game back, not touching it. And when you're looking at Cole Kmet, it's going to show you on paper that it looks like the Jags are bad versus the tight end. But they really funnel more passes all to the wide receivers than they do the tight ends. So I don't like either one of them.
Okay, cool. And wide receivers?
Oh, wide receivers. Oh, all of them. DJ Moore. I like the yards. I like the receptions. I like the longest reception. But I think this is the Keenan Allen bounce back game as well here. I like Keenan Allen at 45 yards. He went up from 60% snaps to 80% snaps. I know he's older. It takes longer to recover for the injury. But I think he's maybe under the 18.5 longest reception, but I think he smashes 45 yards. Jacksonville just funnels 210 yards to the wide receiver a game. I mean, this is a smash play for both wide receivers here.
All right, I like it. Okay, guys, so here's my lock for this game. I'm going to take Travis Etienne over 43.5 rushing yards, DeAndre Swift over 19.5 rushing yards. If you put those two props together, it will 3x your dollars on Drafters Fantasy. Make sure you use promo code DISCO when you sign up on Drafters Fantasy to double your initial deposit up to $100. That's my locks for this game. Moving on, let's go to the next game. This is going swimmingly. This is going really, really, really fun. Andrew, you talked about this topic too, right?
Yeah, we're good. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Just let me do this. All right, moving on to game 2, 1 p.m. Eastern time. The Arizona Cardinals are 5.5-point dogs coming into Green Bay. The over-under is 47.5. So real quick, who's winning the game? Do you like the spread, money line, over, under? Sleaze, you're up.
Oh, man, I like the over, but it's high, man. I think it's going to be a shootout game here. Both these defenses, I feel, are going to struggle in this game. I think the offenses are going to be explosive. I'm going to say, man, I want to take the Cardinals with the points, but I think Green Bay's got everyone back healthy. I'd just go Green Bay money line and take the over.
Perfect. All right, we got a couple of chats here that we need to address before we go to the other guys. Peanut Butter Jelly says, yo, what's happening, fellas? Good to see you, PBJ. We love you. Turgay Kaglar says, please drop one when Puka is back from IR. Tolbert, Bigsby, Javonte Williams, McBride, Addison, no tight end position in my league. Full PPR and standard. I'm going to say Tolbert. Tolbert's the only one who's expandable out of all those players there. Ship a Fool says trade away Kareem Hunt and Josh Downs to get back BTJ. I'm okay with that. I like that trade. BTJ is a top 10 wide receiver. Yes. The other two will not be top 10 at their positions. Agreed on Kmet. I'm going Otten this week, over him this week. I like that. PBJ says waiting for game day. Aren't two of the Bears secondary guys questionable down for tomorrow? That's why I really like BTJ longest reception. It's not a bad deal.
One of those guys is the starting safety, Jaquan Brisker, who's questionable for tomorrow, may not play. And if you take him out of the picture, it should open up more running lanes for the Jaguars.
Yeah,
he's
already. I don't disagree whatsoever. Mr. Magic says, player wants to trade me Jamar and Tank for Brees and Nico. My RBs are Mason, Dobbins, and Ramondre. Jamar and Tank for Brees and Nico. I don't think you're strong enough at running back to give that up. But like Jamar Chase's is that Tank Dell or Tank Bigsby? Because if it's Tank Dell, I'm taking the trade. All right, let's go with you, Andrew. What do you like about this Cardinals game? I should have led with you because you are the Cardinals guru. Once again, they're 5.5-point dogs coming into Green Bay. The over/under is 47.
Okay, Green Bay wins, Green Bay covers, and for the over-under, I'm going the over because if you take out the two teams that played earlier this week, San Francisco and Seattle, this is a match for two of the top 10 offenses in terms of points scored so far this season. Arizona's got 120, Green Bay is 128. These teams know how to get the ball up and down the field, and they know how to let it rip. I feel like the over should probably be in the books by the end of the third quarter on this game. So that's what I'm calling with right off.
I like that a lot. Dan, you're up.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew. I really like the over. I think that if anything really it sticks out to me, I feel like this is going to be a shootout. I love the way both teams are moving the ball. I love both teams' run games. I love both teams' pass games. As far as picking a winner goes, I think I like the Cardinals plus 8.5 on a betting card. So what I like to do is when I got a game that I'm not 100% sure who's going to win or lose, if there's around 5 points, I like to tease that up in the 8.5 range. It's usually negative 150-ish, negative 160. And for a parlay, you can throw that in there, and it hits probably 90% of the time because there's not a lot of games that get out of hand here with two good offenses like this.
Perfect. We got a question here, guys. It's who should I start at the flex position? Tajay Spears, Tracy, Trey Tucker, Braylon
Tracy.
Allen, Rome at flex. I'm going to say Tracy, Sleaze.
Tracy, easy.
Dan?
I like Adunze a lot this week. He's a sneaky good play. Singletary's playing, right?
No, he's
ruled
not.
out.
He's confirmed out.
Close out.
Singletary's been ruled out?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. That just happened today, huh?
Yeah,
Right
like
now.
30 minutes ago.
Yeah, Tracy by a mile.
Okay. Andrew?
Tracy is the answer. Trey Tucker's not a bad second option there, but it's Tracy easily. But keep in mind, Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers are both out this week for the Raiders. And the other thing I don't like about Trey Tucker is Aiden O'Connell.
Heard. Adian, thank you for becoming a member of the Disco Ball Nation. If you guys are watching, please smash a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Costs you nothing. Really helps us out. Shout out to JC. He says TMZ 4 a.m. You already know. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to agree because JC's got a great voice. They'll be live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time on the Patrick Pucci Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Make sure you guys go hit them up with a subscription too. Great guys, great fellas. We definitely love them. I'm going to say that I anticipate Arizona covers, and I do like the over as well. I think this game isn't cut and dry. I'll take the lead here. The positional back and forth wasn't really, going so great. So we'll just go back to talking about what we like in this game. So I'm just going to go based off of my notes here. Packers allow 255.4 passing yards per game. Kyler Murray's passing prop is currently at 214.5. I think that's a tremendous outlier. You're looking at more than 40 yards there. So I'm going to smash the over on Kyler Murray. And the Cards also allow 122 rushing yards per game to the running back position. Josh Jacobs' prop is at 67.5. I'm also smashing the over there. If you, once again, go on Drafters and use promo code DISCO. That will 3x your Dollaruskis on whatever you're betting. Your first bet's on me because I'm doubling your Dollaruskis. Let's go with Dan next, and then we'll go Sleaze and Andrew.
We're going quarterback, right?
No, just whatever you like about this game.
Just
your favorite prop. Yeah,
prop wise. Okay, I agree with you on Kyler Murray. I love his yards. I think his passing attempts and completions is a good prop bet this week as well. I also have Murray written down here for over half a interception. So I think that the Packers are getting more turnovers, more interceptions really than any other defense in the league. And Murray's, he's going to throw a couple up there, and I wouldn't doubt to see the Packers come down with one. I have Murray with a matchup score of 8 and Love with a matchup score of 16. So Green Bay's got a little bit better matchup with the quarterback in general. But as far as Love's props and everything go, I don't really love anything here. I think that the passing yards is pretty good. I like it where it's at. The completions is pretty good. I like it where it's at. I'm staying away from the picks.
He's thrown a pick in every game. I saw that. So
yeah. You know what? But on the other side of that, the Cardinals don't really have a good defensive backfield, and you
could have said that for the last 15 years.
You know,
no one's going to be scared of trying to throw in Sean Murphy Bunting. I mean, it's Jordan Love over 257.5 passing yards. Yeah, I'd consider doing that one because the Cardinals can't really stop a whole lot. They give up just so many points. It's ridiculous.
My only concern with his yards is just the fact that they're getting gashed on the ground so badly. And, this is one of those games where if they want to, they might just be able to hand the ball to Jacobs, control the clock. 67.5 rushing yards is criminally low for how many yards they're giving up. I love Josh Jacobs' rushing yards. I'm probably going to put that in a lot of stuff this week as one of my feel so good about it. I'm willing to lose multiple bets on it. I have Jacobs with a matchup score of 29, which is really high this week. I got Connor with a matchup score of 19. I like Connor more in the receiving game here. I love his reception and his receiving yards, but they don't have it on draft this minute. I would say that tomorrow they probably will have something up there. And then as far as the receivers go, I just – all of the receivers for the Cardinals have smash plays. This is just one of those games where, the Packers, they do a phenomenal job of making the quarterback make mistakes, but they also give up a ton of yards, right? So I could see this being a game where maybe the Cardinals are playing catch up and maybe racking up some serious yards with Harrison. I got him for over receiving yards. I like him for over longest catch. 21.5 seems a little low for this game. I like Wilson for longest reception at 17.5, and I like him for receiving yards at 37.5. That seems pretty low. He's getting more and more involved. He seems like he's kind of making Dortch unplayable. I just cut Dortch in some deep leagues. I really love Reed. I mean, he's got to be one of the best receivers in the NFL right now. 61.5 receiving yards seems really low for him. This game's got a bunch of stuff I really, really like from the receivers. I'm going to stay away from Dubes. Kraft is an absolute superstar right now. I'm just so jealous that I didn't draft him more for best ball. He has my number one score at 40, tied with Jake Ferguson at tight end 1 this week. I really don't know what I like on here for him. 40.5 receiving yards seems pretty low. I probably feel comfortable with that. But on the other side of that, Arizona's not giving up a ton of receiving yards to the tight end. But I think if anybody could, it's Kraft. They got that right about where, if they give up their average, it's going to be close. And then I got McBride with a really good matchup score this week too. Where's he at here? 36. I mean, he's like my tight end 4 this week or 5. He's my tight end 5 this week. I love his receptions. They don't have it on here, so I'm staying away from the receiving yards. If they go like 4.5 receptions tomorrow, I'm going to smash that.
I like it. Okay, we got a question here, so let's address it. I got the wrong. Okay. Yeah, we got a question here, so let's address it. Glenn Smith says, half PPR, should I start Zach Moss or Ladd McConkey in the flex? I'm going to say that even though I don't like Zach Moss in particular, I'm leaning Zach Moss. All right, Sleazeball, what do you like about this game? And thank you for swinging by, Glenn Smith. Appreciate you, buddy.
Okay, so shout out to Cap, by the way. I saw you in there, Cap for Life, coming over from the stream, supporting the guy, Big Draft Energy. I like that. Like to see both people in both chats. That's good to see. This game, with the shootout potential here, that what's not to like, really like. This is a tough one. So when I look at Jordan Love, I don't like any of his stuff really. Kyler Murray, I think he smashes the 247.5 pass plus rush yards. Emmanuel Wilson, I'm not touching. Connor has a good shot to break 71. He just rushed for 86 against the 49ers D, which is a better run D. Still, I don't love it, don't hate it. Totally agree with Dan. I have Josh Jacobs in like 10 cards, and you said it perfect. I'm willing to lose multiple bets on this because the Arizona run D is absolutely terrible. Jaden Reed, with everybody back, is kind of interesting. I wish he hasn't seen a lot of receptions, but his yards are through the roof. So I like his longest reception. I like his receiving yards. Marvin Harrison, I'm kind of staying away from because I don't know how Jair is going to do.
It's such a good matchup, though. Like
I know.
across the board, it's such a good matchup for the wide receivers. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., 54.5. Michael Wilson, 37.5.
Michael Wilson is a smash. I like that you said that.
They're
That was
both
great.
screaming really good matchups. But sorry to interrupt, man.
No, you're good. I mean, I don't know how it's going to go with Jair. He's been locking up some good receivers back to back. Michael Wilson is getting hella involved. That's one of the absolute locks. Once you brought that up yesterday on stream, I looked into that. I put him on like 6-7 cards already. And this is Trey McBride week, everybody.
Let's go.
Smash every single prop for Trey McBride that there is. I like all of them. Longer receptions, receiving yard, anytime touchdown. I like them all. And I think he's the MVP of this game for the Cardinals.
I don't disagree whatsoever. He's my tight end one on the week. Andrew, and by the way, shout out to Glenn Smith. You're very welcome. Any other questions, buddy? We'll definitely prioritize that. AMG says, about to lock into the gym. Let's go, fellas. He's got leg day. Leg days were the worst day. Now we sip protein when we thirsty. Sniper Mel says, hey, y'all, what's up, Sniper Mel? Good to see you, girl. If you guys got any questions, hammer them in there. We will 100% prioritize answering your questions as we go over our favorite props, DFS picks, locks, you name it, we got it. But prioritizing your questions is 100% the goal of today. So thank you guys for supporting. And don't forget to smash a like. It means the world. Andrew, you're up, buddy. What do you like about we already got today?
Here's the card I'm going to put together if I want to do a 100x payout because I can see where this game's going to go. Connor over 71.5 rushing yards. Jacobs over 67.5. If you feel a little squiggly and you want to go on anytime TD on both of them, I do that too. But just looking at what I see here on drafters, Dortch over 23.5 receiving yards. Harrison under 54.5. It sounds weird, but when you look at his output recently, his last couple games were 45 against Washington, 36 against the Niners, and he had to have 11 targets to get 64 yards against Detroit. The only time he's been really good this year was against the Rams, who absolutely suck. So I'm going to go under on Marvin Harrison and start buying on everybody else. Wilson over 37.5. Yep. McBride over 48. Yep. Kraft over 40 for the Packers. Yep. And Narvison for 2 field goals or more. That's where I'm going because I think they're going to wind up having a couple of field goals there for the Packers. You put those 8 together, throw $10 on it, you might have $1,000 by the end of the day.
I just put $1 on it to get 100. Let's go. Shout out to you, Andrew. And
but that's the card I put together on that game just because I think that's the way that's going to turn out. So I will
Hang on, let me
screenshot this and I will see how right I am tomorrow.
All right. It's right here on
real quick. This guy, see it.
Yeah, it's on the screen, buddy. All right. I think we got that all. Sniper Mel with the heart emoji. We appreciate you, Sniper Mel. You're the best. AMG says, need the last minute advice. Flex 2, full PPR, Tank Dell, Etienne, more. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a really good one. I like Etienne to score a touchdown. I don't love his involvement in the receiving game like the other guys. I'm going to lean DJ Moore and Tank Dell. I'm going for the ceiling. I always go for the ceiling here. I think Etienne's got the safest floor, but his floor is also like crumbling. So thank you for the question, AMG. I appreciate you, buddy. Have a great leg workout, buddy. Don't forget to foam roll before and after, sir. Sleaze, did you get the tail?
I got it.
Excellent. All right. Let's go. You guys good to go to the next game?
I'm good.
All right, this game is hella confusing because it's a plus matchup across the board for both Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper, and let's also include Jerry Jeudy. But I did manage to find a couple outliers in this game. So game 3, 1 p.m. Eastern time, the Cleveland Browns are 9-point dogs coming into Philadelphia. The over-under is 42.5. Philadelphia is coming fresh off of a bye week. And we got Devonta Smith, who is slated to play and start. We got A.J. Brown, who is finally slated to play and start. So let me give you my notes on what I think are complete outliers. First and foremost, I think the Eagles win. Do I like the spread? Absolutely not. But my notes I got here is the Eagles actually allow 116.75 rush yards per game, seventh best matchup for running backs when it comes to rushing yards. So with Jerome Ford's prop at 39.5 or Donta Foreman's prop at 23.5, I like both of them over. Pick or choose one, stagger them. Both of them are great props here on Drafters. Also, if we're talking about every game that the Cleveland Browns have been involved in, not including the Raiders game, the Browns have allowed a long reception of 30 or more yards to the wide receiver 1 and 21.5 or more to the wide receiver 2. With that being said, Myers' long, when he didn't go over 30, was a 19-yard reception. Currently, A.J. Brown's long is at 25.5. Devonta Smith's long is at 21.5. I love both of those, so I'm smashing both of those. I actually have a card with all 4 props there. So that will 10x your dollar riskies if you tail here on Drafters Fantasy. Once again, use promo code DISCO. We will double your initial deposit up to $100. And we got a question here. Turgay Seglar, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, first of all, first time I'm watching these guys. They are great. So like the shows, guys. Trade McBride, Najee Harris, Shaheed versus Derrick Henry or McCaffrey. I'm keeping McBride, Harris, and Shaheed over Derrick Henry and Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey. That spices things up a little bit, guys. Anybody want to jump in here? I personally am going to go with the healthy guys. I think Najee Harris is going to be a smash play, especially getting colder. I do like Trey McBride to step up and lock in as an outlier at the tight end position. And I also think Shaheed's a great boom or bust player. We'll see what Shaheed looks like with Spencer Rattler, but I think we're going to see more involvement in the intermediate routes, which is great for PPR format. Anybody else got anything that they want to add to this one? Thanks again for the super chat, Turgay.
I'd be smashing for Derrick Henry if you can afford the depth. I mean, I like Trey McBride as my tight end 1 the rest of the way, but if I can get King Henry, man, this guy's going for 20 touchdowns, dude. I'm taking it.
I like any trade I can end up with the very best player in. That's the way I like to trade.
Okay, Andrew?
Yep, you guys have pretty much said everything I would say, so let's just move on.
All right, man. Appreciate it again, Turgay. Thank you for doing that. So yeah, I gave my locks. Let's go with Sleaze, then Andrew, then Dan.
You got to start me off with Deshaun Watson. Oh my God. Everything looks good, man. Philadelphia struggles versus the wide receiver. They give up 44.5 points per game, but this guy's throwing the football. So I'm not touching any Browns props. I just can't. I love Amari. It all looks great. I can't do it. I think one of my favorite props in this game is Devonta Smith under his passing yards because I don't think it's going to be a heavy pass game from Philly.
Receiving yards?
Receiving yards. With A.J. Brown back, I think Philly gets the lead early and you see more of a Saquon show. So Saquon, I have him at like 130. I mean, I think he crushes 85.5. I don't think that's even close. Jalen Hurts, I don't really want to touch anything. Deontay Foreman, Jerome Ford, I'm not touching. Goddard, I mean, dude, Jerry Jeudy looks good at 18.5 longest, but again, it's Deshaun Watson, so I'm just kind of staying away from everything. The only thing I really like is Saquon over and Devonta Smith under.
Yeah, I don't hate the Saquon over. I actually have a couple cards with that. But I also think that this game is going to be an absolute blowout. So I think we might see some Kenneth Gainwell. By the way, I probably should have pulled this up. Shout out to Mr. Magic, man. He's here all the time. He says, ask Dan when and if Kincaid is going to eat. I don't think it's this week, but this question is for Dan. So, Dan, when can we expect Dalton Kincaid to be significant?
I mean, this was one of those weeks where I was totally in agreement with Disco until I smashed about 20 hours of research. And Kincaid has his best matchup this season, maybe so far. It actually hasn't been great matchup after great matchup. I've been kind of fading Kincaid every week in my rankings. I've been telling people this isn't the week yet. And this week his matchup scores 21. He's a tight end 1 this week. The Jets, the Jets are going to really lock down the outside receivers. And this is a game where I think Kincaid can get right. I'm playing him with a lot of confidence. I don't think I'm going to smash him in DFS. I'm just happy with the matchup for my season-long leagues.
But before you go, Sleaze, I did see your hand there. I'm going to push back here, Dan. When we push back here, and I haven't played it in a while, when you hear
stand
that
on business, that's what I was going to do. Yes.
Yeah. So I need you to stand on business, because right now across the board,
the Jets are good.
The Jets are the 30th. So like when I'm talking about numbers, high number is really good, advantageous matchup where it's good. The closer to the bottom is really bad. So right now they are the 30th worst matchup against the tight ends when it comes to targets, 29th when it comes to receptions, with 3 receptions allowed per game against the tight end position, 29th when it comes to receiving yards, when it comes
Number 1 in the red zone.
Receiving yards 25.6, and then 31st when it comes to receiving yards. They receiving touchdowns, they've allowed 0 receiving touchdowns. So I got to play this.
I like it.
Play this, right? Hold up. What did you just say? I'm gonna need you to stand on business. And then we'll get back to the game at hand. But it's time for you to stand on business, sir.
Okay. So I agree with everything you said. I have the same exact stuff. I'll print it out. And I went through it all already, and I can't find anything on what the Jets have given up so far to lead me to believe that Kincaid should be great this week. However, Pro Football Focus oftentimes has differing opinions about the matchups. As far as Pro Football Focus stuff goes, they got Kincaid as the 6th highest target rate tight end in the NFL. So, he's going to get his targets. I'm not worried about the low targets that the Jets are giving up, because he is getting the ball thrown to him as the 6th highest rate, and the Bills cannot afford to throw the ball to Kincaid any less. As far as his fantasy points per route run, Kincaid is 11th best in the NFL at 0.35 fantasy points per route run. This is a game, to me, that Kincaid's going to be out there running a lot of routes on. I think that he's going to have ample opportunity. As far as yards per route run, Kincaid is 10th best in the NFL with yards per route run at 1.57. That is a good number. If he finished the season at 1.57, he would be above 10th best. That is a phenomenal place for Kincaid to be right there. Kincaid is also in a matchup where, let me see here.
May I add, while you find your spot, I just chimed in on the fact that if James Cook is out, some of those targets might get funneled over to Kincaid as well. So I don't really hate the
Kincaid's also the 7th highest graded tight end in the NFL. He's not playing poorly at all. His grade is 71.0. By comparison, the number 1 graded tight end is 82.7. So Kincaid is not playing badly at all. He just needs, they just need him here this week. The Jets have given up quite a bit of yards per route run to tight ends, 1.29. It's not a real high number, but it's definitely like around the 10th most in the NFL. And they also given up 86% catch rate to tight ends. So, I see that they're not giving up a lot of stats, but they're not getting tested. They're giving up, 86% of the throws to tight ends are being caught. So really all we need from Kincaid this week is more targets. And I think that he smashes. They're going to need him. He's a top 10 tight end this week in just about every category Pro Football Focus organizes them in.
All right.
Well, I mean, top 10 is like 4 points these days. So I mean,
six most yards per route the Jets give up to the tight end. So, the Jets are just not being tested by tight ends. I don't think they've played a bunch of good tight ends.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and answer just based off of everything that Dan just said. Mr. Magic asks Kincaid or Muth. I'm going to say that Kincaid, it needs to be Kincaid because he has a higher ceiling, but his floor is borderline non-existent. Peanut Butter Jelly Time says Watson's throwing like he's been hanging with Arthur Smith. Heck yeah.
PBJ.
Heck yeah. Great comment. Ship a Fool says trying to shop Hunt for someone not on a bye. After this recent blow up, looks like RB1 is. So his options are Lad McConkey for Hunt or maybe Josh Downs or Slayton. I think Lad McConkey is somebody who we haven't really seen splash yet. Do I think that Lad McConkey for Kareem Hunt is worth the trade straight up? No, I think you can get another piece out of that. Thank you for supporting and chiming in. Turgay says, can you please comment on the poor performance by Breece Hall and Achane for the last 2 weeks? Should I be concerned? My first and second picks are killing me. One, Breece Hall is going to have a smash game, especially PPR this week. I'm very bullish on Breece Hall. Two, Devon Achane, when he comes back from his bye week, is going to have a smash game next week. You're fine. Just be patient, hold. And then if you have the option to sell high, I would consider it. I definitely would consider it. AMG says, guess who's back? Back again. Tight end whisperer, speak to me. Ingram, Andrews, Hunter Henry, Njoku, Conklin, or one of the Cincinnati tight ends. I don't like Ingram this week. I love Mark Andrews this week. David Njoku, I'm not touching with your dick. Hunter Henry, not a fan. Tyler Conklin, not touching him either. Even though Tyler Conklin has a spectacular matchup, I think we see more Garrett Wilson and more Alan Lazard and a heck of a lot of Breece Hall in the receiving game. Hot Take City says, hello, my guys, my brother. Good to see you, Hot Take City. Love you. Would you trade Marvin Harrison Jr. for Achane? Like, would you be receiving Marvin Harrison Jr. or would you be receiving Achane? I personally am on the side of getting Achane. What's up, Andrew?
Also, what's the format there? Are we talking dynasty or redraft or keeper?
Good point. All right, Sleaze, you're up, buddy. Cleveland Browns, Philadelphia. Did we go with you yet?
I did. I said all I like is Saquon over and Devonta under. I'm not touching the Browns with Deshaun Watson.
Andrew, what do you like about this game?
I'll give you one if you feel sadistic enough to put something in for Cleveland on this week. This one player, I'm taking the under on his receiving yards. In the one win they had against Jacksonville, he had 6 catches for 44 yards. The other 4 games this season, he's had a total of 9 catches for 48 yards. That's why for take the under on the receiving yards. He has not done diddly squat all year. Under 22.5. That's where I'm going because he's averaging 12 yards a game in losses. And between Deshaun Watson's problems and I'm trying to probably get the ball from Njoku more, I don't see – 22.5, that almost seems a little generous. So that's the only thing I would consider taking off this from the Cleveland side because the rest of it, I don't really have a whole lot of trust in any of it.
All right.
Andrew, to double up on that, the game script's been there for Elijah Moore to get yards too. I mean, they've been losing and they have been having to pass the ball literally the whole second half every week. So, I mean, I totally agree. That's a great catch.
And he's had 20-some targets this year too. I mean, he should be getting the yardage, and it's just not happening. It's just ugh.
Deshaun Watson's terrible.
Anyone have any interest in Deshaun Watson under the yards, thinking that Jameis Winston comes in the third quarter?
No, I have interest in Deshaun Watson under a bridge.
I like Jalen Hurts under 19.5 completions. That's a pretty high number for him. He doesn't hit that very often. I don't see them needing to have 20 completions to win this game. I could see, the Eagles defense basically winning this game all by themselves. I got the Eagles defense as an absolute smash play this week. And
I picked them up ahead in leagues.
19.5 completion seems, I hate Jerome Ford. I'll be the first to tell you, this guy's cost me so many wins in so many fantasy leagues. I don't care how good his matchup is. He always blows it. He's going to maybe have 2 decent 15-point games if he played 17 games. He's just that guy that never does enough to help you win. Saquon, I mean, this guy's a smash this week. Look, anytime you got a team that can't score, the opposing running back is a smash play. They don't have any reason at all to do anything but hand it off. And another thing that's a smash play in these situations is the kicker of the opposing team. They're going to kick field goals instead of go for it. Why would they go for it on 4th and short when they know the other team can't score? So I love Elliott for over 1.5 field goals. I love Saquon for over 85.5 yards. AJ Brown's longest reception at 25.5 seems like a smash play because the Browns and the Jags lead the NFL in man coverage rate. And if they're going to put one guy on A.J. Brown, there's about a 90% chance he's going to have a catch for 26 yards in that game.
Yeah.
My research says Cooper and Judy are probably both worth playing, but I am staying the heck away from them. Last week, my research had those guys top of the league. I mean, I had Judy as like my number 3 receiver. I without looking, I'm just going to guess he had 1 catch for 7 yards or something like that. It was pathetic. So I'm just staying away from anything that Deshaun Watson could ruin because he's going to ruin it, right? So, but like Andrew said, picking the unders on a guy like Moore who's been under every week, like that's something that's smart, right? Because he's going to ruin it. So that's like counting on him to suck, and I think that's a good bet. And then with the tight ends, I got Goddard with a matchup score of 22. I love his longest reception at 16.5. He's been smashing that like every week. He's been a big play threat for them. I don't know how much I like him having a ton of catches. I don't know how much I like him having a ton of yards, but I definitely love him having one big play, and 16.5 seems really low.
I like it. Great breakdown. Great analysis. Let's address the chat. So since you're the Cardinals guy and Mr. Magic had his question, he specified that the trade for Devon Achane, he would be the one receiving Achane for Marvin Harrison Jr. It's also PPR, and it's either he trades Marvin Harrison Jr. or Devonta Smith for Achane. Which one would you do? I would personally trade away Devonta Smith for Achane if I were to trade any of them away. But Andrew, since you are Arizona Cardinals specialist, the king of Cards Nation, why don't you tell him?
Yeah, I would definitely get rid of Devonta Smith first because he's always going to have A.J. Brown there to deal with. He's always going to have Dallas Goedert there to deal with. Marvin Harrison Jr., the big thing is it's like they're just not utilizing him the right way. And, I mean, Achane's always going to have competition from Mostert's. You never know when it's going to be handed off to him at the goal line anyway. So I'm saying hold on to Marvin Harrison Jr. and wait for a little bit later in the season because remember, towards playoff time, the Cardinals have matchups against New England and Carolina. That's when you're going to be going, holy crap, why the hell did I trade him away in October? I really wish I had him right now so I could finish dominating my league.
You got to get to that point, though, sometimes, too. I'm all for looking ahead, but when you're like 1-4, sometimes you got to make a move. You can't hold that long.
Yeah, that's also a very valid point. Okay, Matt P with Matt Pod Curse.
What's up, Matt?
Good to see you, Matt. What can I reasonably expect to trade Zay Flowers for after this blow-up week? I'm saying you could probably get DK Metcalf easily.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you can get Achane for Smith, smash it and run before the charges get pressed. I agree 100% PBJ. Hot Take says, I feel like this is a trap game. Eagles offense is back, but that defense looks shaky. And if Watson can get Cooper involved early, man, but like I don't know about you guys. Watching Deshaun Watson walk off the field and like pretty much give up on his team there and his coach, like what the fuck? Like I've given up all hope. I'm not betting on Deshaun Watson. The only way I can bet on that team and not bet on Watson is by betting on the up or the plus matchup that the running backs have, and the very like I believe that they're being lowballed in these props. Moving on, guys. You guys ready to move to the next game?
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about Cleveland is take a guess how many times they've breached 20 points this season. Zero. Not once.
Yeah. Matt.
Eagles are coming off a bye, man.
They're going to crush this team, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like the Eagles are probably going to win this game like 45-10.
Heard. Matt Podgorski says, I'm loaded at wide receiver. I would say then aim for a Devon Achane because we were talking about him. Try to get a Kyron Williams. You could definitely, like, with what I have.
Kyron's tough.
With what I have Zay Flowers projected to do, I would look at the guy who's struggling with wide receivers and try to take one of his best running backs. I mean, unfortunately, Bijan and Brees are both going to absolutely smash. So, your window to buy low there isn't necessarily there. But it's an interesting question. I doubt you could get a Derrick Henry. I doubt you can. Yeah, it's a toughie. It's a toughie. But I would definitely sell high. Just trying to think somebody I have ranked along that range. Maybe Joe Mixon +1, but I also am not investing a lot in Joe Mixon. I think Zay Flowers is a better long-term investment, and it tastes like shit saying that because I really, really faded him in best ball. All right, moving on to the next game. Game 4, we got the Houston Texans, who are 7-point favorites coming into New England. The over-under is 37.5. Drake May is finally at the helm. Let me just go over my notes real quick and give you guys my locks, and then we'll go over the other guys' notes and points here. The Patriots give up 53 receiving yards to tight ends per week, with Nico Collins being out. Some of those targets will be funneled to their third best receiving target actively, which is Dalton Schultz. His receiving yards is currently at 33.5. It's a plus matchup across the board. There's vacated targets. Everybody's saying it's going to be Hutchinson or Mechie. It's going to be neither. It's going to be Dalton Schultz. 33.5 is an absolute lock. It's one of my favorite locks on the week. The Houston Texans also give up 32.8 rushing yards to running quarterbacks per game. Look for Drake May to absolutely smash over his 28.5 rushing yards. He's mobile. He's agile. He's going to be running for his fucking life. I love that. Those are my two favorite props. Once again, guys, if you guys want to tail, use promo code DISCO when you sign up on Drafters Fantasy. We'll double your initial deposit up to $100 Rooskies, and those two props will 3x your money. So say you put $5, you'll come back with 15, so on and so forth. Let's go with Andrew next. What do you like about this game, buddy?
This is going to be a pounding ground game on both sides. Houston's going to pound the ball to get the clock running so they can just get the hell out of there. New England's going to pound the ball just to keep the clock moving and try and keep C.J. Stroud on the sideline. I'm going Antonio Gibson over 48.5 and Joe Mixon over 50.5 rushing yards easily. The receiving ones for the Patriots, I'm not touching those right now just because New England has not done a whole lot offensively at all. But Tank Dell over 52.5 receiving yards for the Texans. Yes, please. Dalton Schultz, like you talked about, I'll take that too. And Kyrie Fairborn over 7.5 kicker points. I mean, he was hitting something like 55, 60 last week. And, eventually if Houston gets out to a big lead, it's going to be Kyrie time to just knock them through and just, put cosmetic points on the board and hopefully money in your wallet. Over 7.5 kicker points for me on Kyrie this week.
I like it. I like it a lot. Sleaze, you're up. I love the rapid fire, man. I love it. I love it. Keep it going.
Rapid fire in here. What I love the most is absolute lock is following yours. I like Drake May rushing. The guy rushed for 1,000 yards in 2 years in North Carolina, and you saw him come in for that short stint last week. And what did he do? He ran the ball right away.
Yeah.
So he's going to rush over 27. I have him at like 48 to 50 this game, so I think that's a huge outlier right there. I don't like the Antonio Gibson, not to go against Andrew. I think it is going to be a tough. I'm not buying his rushing yards there. If I'm looking at Mixon, I like the 50.5 yards there as well. And I have this like sketch feeling that Jalen Polk is going to have a game here, and his numbers are way too low. 25.5, 2.5. I love both those. Those are like, it's just staring at me. Like they're going to be playing from behind. The passing volume is going to be massive. One of these guys has to hit. And even Demario Douglas at 31 also seems low. And now Kendrick Bourne is back. He's at 16.5. That's incredibly low. I mean, it looks good. Am I willing to take it? No. But if anybody, I'd take the Jalen Polk receptions. I think he's going to smash 2.5. And I think Hunter Henry's going to be the security blanket here, seeing a lot of work. I think I like the over 24.5, even though the Texans are very good versus the tight end. They rank second, but I don't care when volume is in this play. And the Kyrie Fairbairn 7.5 is one of my favorites as well.
Now, let me ask you, especially since you just alluded to the whole security blanket for the rookie Drake May, because I think he does need it. With Ramondre Stevenson being out, and we obviously don't really love the rushing yards. I personally don't love the rushing yards for Antonio Gibson either. Would the 17.5 receiving yards make sense?
It looks good. It's just Antonio. I never trust that guy, man.
It
looks good. I'd rather take the Jalen Polk than him.
Yeah, I found it absolutely humorous that when Ramondre was getting benched for fumbling, quote unquote, it was the guy who fumbled the most in the NFL that was absolutely replacing him.
Right, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, Dan the man, you're up. Give it to us, buddy.
Okay, so I'm just going to start off by agreeing 100% on the May rushing yards prop. I love it. 27.5. I was thinking it was going to be in the 30s, to be honest with you. So I'm thinking that's a really, really, really good bet. Believe it or not, I got Stroud with a bad matchup here. He's scored a -1 on my matchup chart. They don't pass block that well. They don't have all their best weapons. The Pats have no pass rush, so something's got to give. I actually have Antonio Gibson for under receiving yards. It showed up in my charts that Houston does not give up very many receiving yards, but I didn't know it was so low at 17.5. So that's something that I'm monitoring. I got to take another second look at that to see how low they're giving up. I love Mixon 50 rushing yards.
That's free. That's the freest thing.
At what capacity are we going to see Joe Mixon is my concern, because he's still coming back from an injury. Do we think that he's going to take the full workhorse workload?
He doesn't come back without it. Every time he's been hurt in his career, he comes back as the full workhorse.
I'd rather wait to see if there's a Dameon Pierce prop, because I think, despite what he's done historically, he still has a lot of tread on his wheels. But sorry to interrupt, Dan. Keep cooking.
No, you're good. I love Mixon's rush yards, though. I feel like that's really good. I think last week I loved Diggs at 5.5 receptions, and he didn't hit. But this week I really think 5.5 receptions is a great matchup here. New England funnels the pass at an extraordinary rate. Quarterbacks are just throwing the ball a lot versus them. So, that being said, 5.5 receptions out of your primary slot receiver on a team that's funneling the pass seems pretty low. I think they're going to need that to win. I like Dell's receiving yards. 52.5 seems low for him. I think 22.5 longest receptions probably in play too. I might hit both of those on different cards. Totally agree with Disco about Dalton Schultz. I have him on my tight end chart here for over receiving yards. I had no idea it was going to be this low. 30.5. Come on.
It's going to change tomorrow, so people really need to lock it in.
It is, right? And so, Hunter Henry, here's an intriguing guy, right? So we know, anybody that follows football knows that young quarterbacks have a tendency to target the tight end. Yeah. But the Texans give up the least amount of yards in the NFL to tight ends. They're basically not giving up jack crap to tight ends. Kincaid had a pretty good game last week, skewed that number and even up some. So, even after Kincaid's decent game, this looks like a way too high of a number, 24.5. But the longest receptions, way more than they're giving up on average to tight ends. The Texans are only giving up 6 yards a reception to tight ends this year. So they're going to have to double the average to hit that. I have already bet this as under receiving yards in one bet, and I've already bet this and under longest reception in the other. And the reason is the Patriots have had Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback, and he historically has targeted tight ends at an astronomically high rate for his career. It's close to 40% for his entire career, what he targets tight ends at. So all the film the Texans have on the Pats, there's going to be a tight end heavy offense. And given the fact they're already so good against the tight ends, I feel like they'll lock that right down. And Fairburn, 7.5 kicker points. That just feels free. The guy's amazing. Same situation as earlier. You're going up against an offense that likely can't score. Why take any chances? You're going to kick a field goal 10 out of 10 times when there's that choice in this matchup. So Fairbairn, plus he's amazing. He's like the second best kicker in the NFL right now.
Fair. All right, we ready to switch to the next game?
All right, wait.
All right, I absolutely hate this game. Let's please not spend a lot of time on this game. So I'll go over my notes real quick. There's only one prop I like in this game, and only one that I'm willing to bet on because the rest of them are just too volatile based off of game script, and I just don't like it at all. So we got the Game 5, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The Indianapolis Colts are 2.5-point dogs coming into Tennessee. Tennessee's coming off of a bye week. The over-under is 43.0. So I will say this. The only notes I have and the only lock I have in this game is currently the Colts allow 280 passing yards per game, which is like a ridiculous amount. And currently Will Levis's passing yards prop is at 200.5. To sweeten the deal, his pass and rush is at 206.5. And I can guarantee he's going to rush for 25 to 40 yards this game. So 206.5 passing and rushing for Will Levis. Will Levis is a smash start pretty much everywhere in DFS. Even in redraft, I'm willing to start him this week, especially as a second quarterback in like a super flex. I like all of Will Levis's props this week. He's the only one I'm willing to bet on. Yes, it's a plus matchup for Tony Pollard. Yes, it's a plus matchup for all the receivers there, especially Calvin Ridley. But I'm not betting on anybody other than Will Levis rushing and passing. Let's go with Andrew next. What do you like about this game? Let's please keep this as brief as humanly possible, guys.
For me, it's the only one I would, two things I'd solidly wager on. Pollard over 64.5 rushing yards. Will Levis over 0.5 interceptions thrown. 4 games, 6 picks. When the guy throws, he hits bricks. I'd say that's the only two things I'd bet on. I'm not really sure about Ridley or Hopkins. Now, on the other side, I'm just kind of staying away from this whole thing just because this whole game kind of stinks from the divisional one, but it is what it is. Let's go on.
I appreciate you, buddy. Turgay, let's address the chat. Turgay says, please help me choose one wide receiver, one flex for this week. It's standard. So Mooney, Shaheed, McBride, Bigsby, Javonte, Tolbert. Thank you. I think Mooney finds the end zone. Shaheed is boom or bust. I'm going to go Mooney and McBride. Thank you again for supporting the channel, man. I really do appreciate it. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter. He says, think Gonzalez will follow Diggs in the slot. I don't think we're going to see Diggs a lot in the slot. I also don't think we're going to see Tank Dell a lot in the slot, especially in 2 wide receiver sets. When they go to 3 wide receiver sets, and I don't think they're going to do that very often. I think we're going to see it definitely go down significantly with no Nico Collins out there. We're going to see more Dalton Schultz go out of the actual tight end, and we're going to see more Kate Stover in 2 tight end sets as the inline blocker there. But yeah, that's just my assessment there. Also, Javonte Hall, Williams, or Devonta Smith, full PPR. Devonta, easily. Sleaze, you're up, buddy. Please keep this as brief as you possibly can, like the briefest.
All right. Quick smash instead, so you can match them up together instead of going with the 206 pass rush, which I think is an absolute lock. The 11.5 rushing for Will Levis is fucking absolutely free. I love Tony Pollard's rushing in a plus matchup. I like Trey Sermon under the rushing yards. I think you're going to see more of a split backfield after last week. I also like DeAndre Hopkins. I have him at 6 to 7 receptions in this game off the bye. They are going to try and target him to shop him. I think that is one of my favorite picks this week as well. And what's interesting is that The Colts are dead last versus the tight end, but I don't trust Okonkwo to get 17 fucking yards. That's the
I know
problem. I don't
it's
understand.
such a plus matchup. Sometimes when you look at the advantageous matchups, like
17 yards, I can't even bet on it.
you wish it was a better tight end, a tight end who has yet to spike it like a Sam Laporta. You wish he was going into this matchup, but instead it's fucking Chig Ozim Okonkwo. By the way, I just took longest rush for Drake May and paired it with that rushing yards prop because that's a brilliant prop, Sleaze. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Dan, let's keep this one brief, and then we got a couple chats to address.
All right. You know what? I actually love this game. I don't know why you hate it so much. I think this game has plenty of opportunity to win money in. Anthony Richardson is a lock for a pick. I mean, this guy is terrible at quarterback. He's one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. If he plays 2 quarters, a pick is guaranteed. So smash that play. Will Levis right now on drafters, I don't know what they're doing. They have a mistake on here, and we need to take advantage of it. 206.5 pass plus rush yards. This dude's good for 30 rush yards every single game. The only game he didn't have 30, he had 9 on the first drive and came out of the game on a rush. So only 3 more rushing yards over the passing yards prop, a 203. That is criminal. I just want to set like a whole bunch of lineups with that in it. Tony Pollard, 64.5 rush yards. Love that. I think that Tennessee is going to win this game. I think they're going to control the clock. I love Pollard's receiving yards too. If they had a rush receiving prop, I'd hit it. If they had receptions, I'd consider it. Trey Sermon, if Flacco was the quarterback, I'd pound this 1.5 receptions. I think he had like 6 last week, but I don't trust Anthony Richardson at all. I don't know what to do with that, but it seems really low. Calvin Ridley, 21.5 yards, longest reception. That's a smash. The Colts are just giving up long reception after long reception, and Ridley's the guy that catches the long receptions for this team. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. All Levis has to do is chuck it up, and he'll come down with it. I agree with Sleaze on Hopkins, 3.5 catches. That seems really low. I love Levis this week. I think that anything from Hopkins and Ridley are in play. And Chig, like Sleaze, like you said, he's popping, but he's only playing like 45% of the snaps. I'm staying away from him. Even though the research says it's good, just stay away from anybody that's platooning like that. It's too risky. There's too many other props to choose from. And then I love Nick Folk with 7.5 kicker points. They're conservative. They kick field goals every time. I haven't seen Callahan go for a 4th and short yet. And I've been pleading with him too, watching the games. He's kicking it every time. And I think that with Richardson being such a terrible quarterback, he's going to have ample opportunities to kick few field goals, and that should be a smash.
Love it, buddy. Mr. Don says, can y'all help me on a single entry lineup, please, for the morning game? Yeah, man, just morning game. Okay. So how many people do you need for the single entry lineup? How many people do you need in a single game lineup?
So the longest reception for Pollard is at 10.5. You like that one, Dan?
I'd rather bet on
Pollard. You know what? I have that written down here. I have what I like for Pollard is over rush attempts, over yards, over receptions, over receiving yards, and over longest reception. I actually like 5 props for Tony Pollard.
I know he has a smash play this week, but man, Spears got a little more involved last week too.
All right. So let's help Mr. Don out here. You need 6. Okay, is it half PPR, full PPR, or standard? Sorry. Where I'm at, we don't have access to that, but I'll gladly help you.
Is this DraftKings, Mr. Don?
He says, can y'all help me on a single entry lineup? Okay, so if it's DraftKings, what is it? Standard, half PPR, full PPR?
Full PPR.
Okay, I'm going to go Caleb Williams as my quarterback easily. So what position is he?
He's not going to be available.
Because that Chicago game is a super early game.
Yeah, it's at 9 in the morning.
He's just doing the morning game.
Yeah, he's
That's the
just
question.
in the London game.
Oh! I
Okay,
thought
so
you
he
meant
has
the 1
Caleb
o'clock.
Williams at captain, Bigsby, Odunze, Kirk, Moore, Bearsy. Okay, I would swap out Bigsby or Kirk actually for DeAndre Swift, especially if it's PPR. I think DeAndre Swift is going to smash PPR format. And then I would also insert, because you're probably saving money by swapping out Kirk for Swift. I would spend
My wife's mom just got here. Let me say, I'll say hi.
Okay. I would spend the rest of the money trying to pay up on a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. or a Keenan Allen. Okay. I hope that helps you, buddy. I appreciate your support, buddy. Thanks. Great. Thank you so much. You guys have Discord channel. We absolutely do, buddy. Just shoot me. Hold on. I'll put it in the chat in a sec. I just got to figure out how to do that. I'm technologically not very good. The dude I'm playing has Hall and Wilson. Yeah, you're fudged, buddy. All right, moving on to the next game, folks. You good? You guys good to move on?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, sweet. Game 6, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3.5-point favorites coming into New Orleans. The over/under is 42. Spencer Rattler is taking the helm. It's a very plus matchup for Alvin Kamara. This game surely is going to be the game that Mike Evans gets ejected once again for getting into it with Marshawn Lattimore. So smash the unders there. I'm kidding. This is probably going to be the game that he actually sticks around. But just pulling up my notes right here for this game, the Saints allow 268.5 passing yards per game. Baker Mayfield's prop is at 231.5. I think that's criminally way too low. So I'm absolutely smashing the over on Baker Mayfield's passing. And then when we're looking at the wide receivers for New Orleans, yes, Spencer Rattler is there, but the numbers are the numbers. And this is what the Bucs allow. They allow 175.8 receiving yards per game to the wide receiver position. So I like the over for Shaheed's receiving yards at 39.5 or his longest reception. And I also like the over for Chris Olave. These are my absolute locks, guys. So yeah, it's definitely Bucky time, but this is not a plus matchup, and I'm not willing to put him on a drafter's ticket because the numbers for the props are just not ideal.
I missed it. Run through it real quick again so I can make a card fast as you can.
Okay, I got you. So I like Baker Mayfield over on his passing yards, and I like either Shaheed or Olave over their receiving yards, or both actually, because
Tampa's defense is a plus matchup. Yeah, okay,
yeah, it's great. So those are my absolute two locks. I like, once again, like, there's a lot of variances where it's like, yes, I could start these guys, I could play these guys in DFS. They have good plus matchups, but what it comes down to is this an outlier that I'm willing to put my name on to say it's a lock and have other people spend their money on? Yes, and that's all I'm giving. That's all I'm distributing. I'm going to do a recorded video after we do the stream where I go over all of my locks and my picks this week. If it smashes, yay. If it doesn't, I apologize. I give my best effort. But yeah, it got to my head, so I'm going to start Conklin. What are you talking about? Joe Ortiz says Bucky time. It's going to be the Bucky Irving show. It could be. It very well could be. He has that ability. Number one player at every position this week. Okay. Number one tight end, Trey McBride. Number one quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Number one running back, Bijan Robinson. Number one wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. I got you. All right. Dan, you're up, buddy. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. What do you like? Just give me your three best picks.
Okay. Well, I'm scared of Baker. I just feel like this game's going to be a really low-scoring game from New Orleans. I don't think Rattler's going to play well at all. So I don't think Baker's going to be needed to have a big game. I could see him, I could see the whole offense just kind of having down numbers across the board. I like Kamara's receiving yards. He hits it every week. 30's just real low. If you look at all of his games, he doesn't always hit this 4.5 receptions, but he always hits the 30 receiving yard mark. If I'm going to bet anything at all, I'm going to bet Rattler to just continuously check the ball down to Kamara. I'm comfortable with that only for the Saints. I'm staying away from Olave. I'm staying away from Shaheed. As far as Bucky Irving goes, his receiving yards is criminally low. I mean, just think about how often the Bucs have historically thrown the ball to running backs. Rachaad White, he was RB4 last year, and he didn't even have 1,000 yards rushing. So, I mean, what else do I need to say? I won't hammer on that too long. 19 and a half receiving yards for Bucky Irving is free. I love that. If I had to pick a receiver to do well, I like Godwin with 62 and a half receiving yards. Evans is going to be locked down. He has not historically had good yardage versus Lattimore. I know he's had some touchdowns. They don't have touchdowns on here. I'm just staying away from it. Otten's been getting more involved, but I'm staying away from that as well. And then I love Chase McLaughlin over 7.5 points here. I mean, same deal as earlier. Offense that I believe can't move the ball. Tampa Bay has no reason to take any chances. They're going to kick field goal 10 out of 10 times when there's a risk to be taken and they're in field goal range. So I love Chase McLaughlin. I love Bucky Irvin receiving. And I love Kamara receiving.
Love it. All right. Sleaze, then Andrew.
All right, let me jump into this here. I'm going to go with Dan here. The only thing I might like from Baker is the rushing. He popped a bunch of rushes last week. He's covered this in, I think, almost every game but one. If I pull it up real quick, that's off the top of my head. 21, 34, 10, 42. What?
Yeah, Sleaze, I got the numbers here. In 4 out of 5 games, he's rushed for at least 10 yards or a touchdown this season. So, yeah, it works.
So I like that one. I love the Chase McLaughlin kicking. I'm with Dan. One of my main slips that I have sliced up everywhere that I'm willing to lose across the board is Bucky's receiving. I think that's an absolute lock. I'd be willing to put 100 on a 2-piece for that one. And I think if one of my other locks here, I know it's tough to do, is I'm going to take Mike Evans under. He has a 49-yard per game average on his career versus Lattimore, and that was with an 80-yard bomb on one of them. So he's really struggled versus Lattimore in his entire, I think it's like 8 years they've been battling, or 7 years. So that's a tough one. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but if I was going to take anything on Evans, it'd be the under. Olave, I like the longest reception, and Shaheed, I like the longest reception. Because Tampa is very susceptible to chunk plays.
Can I ask something? Because this is one of the easiest locks that you can absolutely get sold on, because it's sold on me before, right? And it's the receptions prop for Alvin Kamara at 4.5. So when I'm looking at the advantages, especially for running back receptions, let me pull it up here. It is one of the most advantageous matchups in football. It's actually the 4th best matchup when it comes to receiving targets. There's 7.2 receiving targets to running backs against Tampa Bay. It's actually the 3rd best when it comes to receptions, which is 6.4 receptions to the running back position when we're talking about Alvin Kamara. And then the Buccaneers also allow the 3rd most receiving yards to RBs at 54.5. This seems like an absolute smash. I think we're looking too hard into Bucky, and we're ignoring that this is a Kamara smash week. This is a great week for Kamara. And if Kamara does smash, sell high. Respectfully, sell high. What do you guys think, though, Sleaze, since you're on the big screen? What do you think about the Kamara? Because we both did this against Dallas, and we got fucked.
Man, with the rookie quarterback, that's one of my favorite ones as well, as the receptions. Again, I haven't seen Rattler out there play yet, but they're normally known for checkdowns. So I like that. I think I'd rather take the yards, though. I think the yards is more enticing than the receptions for him.
So right now his receiving yards is at 29.5.
That's insanely low for Kamara.
Really? All right.
So on the season right now, Kamara receiving has only been under 40 in one game.
Which game was that?
Game 1 against Carolina, where they blew him out. And he didn't even play the second half.
Against a divisional foe.
Yeah.
Could that be a trend that we're looking at? All right, Andrew, you're up, Buttercup.
No,
well, I mean, he played 50% snaps, so I don't know about that.
All right, here's the 4-bagger I'm serving up on this one. Kamara over 4.5 catches, yes. Spencer Rattler over 181.5. Yeah, I saw him in preseason out here in Phoenix, the one game against Arizona. I actually got really good seats. I was actually about 6 rows behind the goalpost with a parking pass for $35 with tax. How about that? Again, we just keep winning here. It's all we do. But yeah, Rattler, if he gets the time, throws up a pretty decent deep ball. I think it's going to hit maybe once, maybe twice. You never know, but I think over the 181 he can do. Baker over 12.5 rushing yards. Yep, just like I mentioned there with Sleaze. But on the passing yards, I'm going under because in 3 of the last 4 games, Baker Mayfield has failed to hit 200 yards. Even last week, when the Buccaneers went to Atlanta and lost in overtime, put up 30 points, and Baker threw 3 touchdowns. He only had 180 passing yards. The yardage at times is just flat out not there for Baker. The rest of the results are pretty nice, but the yardage, I'm going to go under on that one. I just don't see where they need him to throw it that much. And it seems like even that game against Denver where they lost, he threw it 33 times. He only had 163 yards on 25 completions. Dink dunk central. If you want to go for like the props on the receptions, that might work. But the yardage, I'm going under on Baker this week.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, let's address the chat. By the way, if somebody knows the answer to this, that would be super cool. But in how many head-to-head matchups has Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore played? Out of those matchups that they've played, how many of them has there been disciplinary actions where Mike Evans doesn't complete?
They've been ejected twice.
It's only twice where, like, because like I feel like they've played a lot of matchups, so it's not almost a lock where his it might be free actually. All receiving props kind of up in the air. On rushing, I'd go under on Bucky Irving. Interesting. That's why I'm not betting on it, because it's kind of like, is it a lock? Is it something that I can like really stand on business and say this is free? No. Turgay Kaglar says, what do you think of the 49ers defense? They allow points, but they also do good numbers of interceptions, fumble sacks, etc. They take the ball away a lot. This is true. Do you think they are going to be a good option for playoffs, 12-person league? Ooh, Sleaze, you're my defense special teams guy, and the 49ers also happen to be your team. You got this one.
Let me read it. What do you think the 49ers defense? They allow points, but they also do good. We've had 2 back-to-back games with touchdowns, which we only had 1 touchdown last year, so it's kind of an outlier there when you're looking at that. Do you think they're going to be a good option for the playoffs, 12-team leagues? Let me pull it up real quick. I have the 49er defense in my dynasty.
All right, while you do that, we'll address George's other comment. I only like the under on rushing is because I think he's going to have good receiving output day. Good to know. Good to know. I appreciate that, because like I also don't like the rushing.
Terrible playoff stretch for the Niners.
It's terrible playoff stretch for the Niners. Okay, so would you have a suggestion for him to go elsewhere? Some defense that would be.
I haven't looked into the schedules late for defenses yet, but go for it. I'll look for one while you pop through.
All right, let's go to the next game, fellas. All right, next game.
Yeah, I got the answer to the Evans Lattimore question.
Yes.
He's only been thrown out once, but keep in mind, Mike Evans has received 2 one-game suspensions for the crap he's done with Lattimore. So if it gets out of hand this week, he may not be there next week. Just keep that in mind going forward.
I appreciate that, Andrew. You're the best. That's why we have you. I love this team, and you guys are absolutely great. So Dan, we'll start with you after I talk about my locks here. We got the Washington Commanders. This is Game 7, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The Washington Commanders, the exciting Washington Commanders, are actually 6.5-point dogs coming into Baltimore. The over/under is 51.5. It is by far one of the highest point totals on the slate. So I will say this: there are a lot of props that like stand out to me that are like, ooh, this is cool. But like, I'm trying to stay tunnel vision and give you guys absolute free locks. And I think this one is going to be addressed overnight or within the next couple hours, because I know Drafters likes to watch this show. So guys, tail this immediately. The Ravens allow the most passing yards to quarterbacks at 304.5 passing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels' prop is only at 226.5 yards. That's almost 80 yards. That's a significant outlier. I absolutely love that. The Commanders also allow 116.5 rushing yards per game. Derrick Henry's rushing prop is at 84.5, which is really rich. I much prefer the Justice Hill rushing prop, not receiving prop, but I do like his receptions. But I like his receiving prop at 14.5 with Brian Robinson pretty much out this week. I also love Austin Eckler's receiving props if they had them. Last I checked, when I took my notes there, they were not there. So let's just do a quick.
They actually are there right now. It's 20.5 on the receiving yards and 11.5 for the longest reception, and no prop for actual receptions.
Yeah, so receiving yards or longest receptions are both free. I'm going to take one with the longest reception. I'm going to add the Jaden Daniels. Shit. Yeah, I think I should be able to hit it. And Justice Hill rushing yards. I'm going to put a $5 on that. Let's go. Okay, sweet. Glad I got that. Dan, you're up, buddy. What do you like about this game? What do you don't like about this game? And yeah, Joe Ortiz says, let's go Ducks. Quack.
I love the over.
Hamstring. Sorry, I heard duck.
I love the over for this game. I'll just get that out of the way. I agree, Disco. So Daniel's 225.5 passing yards I really like. But if I choose that, I can't choose anything for McLaurin that they have listed. So can I do 20.5?
You could take longest reception, which is very viable as well. I have 68% projection of that hitting.
Wait, I am not being allowed to combine longest reception with passing yards today here.
Yeah,
because I just took passing yards and longest reception for Austin Eckler with Jaden Daniels.
Okay. Do you think I just need to refresh my page because it's not allowing me to do it? Like,
you should unless it's wide receiver focused. Like you should be able to.
I'll try it again here. Well, won't let me.
Interesting. I told myself I was going to.
I got it. 22.5 longest reception. I already have it clicked. I click on passing yards. Won't let me.
All right. I mean that's fine. We'll figure that out. But
20.5 completions. I'm going to go with. Okay. He's been dinking and dunking it like crazy. I have him over for attempts, over for completions, over for pass yards. So I'll take what I can get there. I'm staying away from Lamar Jackson in this game. I like his touchdown prop. They're not listing it. I like him to have no picks. They're not listing it. I'm just staying away from what they have there. I love Derrick Henry's longest rush at 17.5. He smashes this every week. One of the things I have written down here is Derrick Henry over longest run. Washington has been giving up high yards per carry, so I'm going to say that's a really good bet. I love Terry McLaurin, both 59.5 receiving yards and 22.5 longest reception. I'm probably going to have that in multiple cards. Zay Flowers at 58.5 receiving yards. I like it. I wish they had receptions here. I'd like that more, but I'm okay with the yardage. I'm staying away from the tight ends in Baltimore. They got him with kind of like mid matchups, and I don't know who's getting the ball there. Even the third tight end is getting involved. I love Zach Ertz this week. Zach Ertz is one of my absolute favorite smash plays. I have him as a matchup score of 39. That is tight end 3 behind Jake Ferguson and Tucker Kraft, and just ahead of Trey McBride this week. I am smashing and playing Zach Ertz in so many different lineups. 30.5 receiving yards. I absolutely love it. And that's it for this game. That's what I like.
All right. Andrew, did you go? No, you didn't go yet. But before you go, Mr. Don, I don't like none of y'all. I like you very much, though, sir. He says, which 3 players tomorrow do you see getting 2 touchdowns? I thought you said 1 touchdown. All right. 2 touchdowns tomorrow. I think CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Derrick Henry are the players I see getting 2 touchdowns tomorrow.
Maybe
let me throw one at you with Trey McBride.
Saquon.
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a monster fucking game. And he cost me $1,400 in the drafters tournament last week, and I'm doubling down on him this week. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. But Andrew, please talk to us about this game. Hopefully that helped you, Mr. Don. I don't like none of y'all. I like you, though.
All right, so here's the 2 I'm taking on this whole game for Baltimore and Washington. Number one, I mean, yeah, Mark Andrews has had some real disappointing times this season, but he's also had 2 games with four catches, 50 yards. That receiving yards at 24.5. I'll take the over this week and see where this goes. I got a feeling they're just going to be throwing it all over the place. It's going to go well. The other one I want is the one that nobody's even said yet. It's the guy who has one line on this page, and his name is Jeremy McNichols, over 26.5 rushing yards. Why Jeremy McNichols? The last 2 weeks, when somebody was out, he came in and against Arizona, 8 carries, 68 yards, and a catch for 6. Against Cleveland, 7 carries, 44 yards. He also has 3 total touchdowns. And as we saw a couple of weeks ago, Washington ran the ball for almost 220 yards in the desert. This Commanders team can run, and with Brian Robinson Jr. out, I mean, Eckler, he can do some damage, but he's always got that concussion risk. Jeremy Nichols has been a surprising, real deep play. So I would put that on him getting more than 26.5. Because the last 2 weeks he's combined for 112 yards and 3 scores.
Yeah, I just put McNichols in my lineup in community first. Thanks for that.
Ravens only allow 48 rush yards a game. I don't know if I like that one.
Well, he's had long runs each week of more than 25, so he could potentially grab that in one play if he gets loose.
Yeah, but those are smash matchup defenses, though. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I don't love it.
Do you think Eckler comes into the full-time pass receiver? 20.5 receiving yards seems low for that.
I absolutely love that.
That one seems low because the offensive coordinator in Washington used to be the coach out there in when he was with the Chargers. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good chemistry there between coach and running back. So I could see that happening. But I can also see him start this spell and go with McNichols at times too. And I think we're going to get this one over 26.5.
All right, cool. I put McNichols in my lineup and then I took him out of my lineup. I thought that was quick. That was super quick. Sleaze, I think you're the last one up, buddy. Here. So,
this is like crazy that no one's really brought this up right now. The absolute smash play in this game across the board is
Justin Tucker, 1.5 field goals.
Zay Flowers.
Oh yeah, Zay Flowers receptions is great.
Dude, the Baltimore Ravens give up 44 fantasy points a game. They're like 22nd in the red zone. They give up 176 pass yards a game. Zay Flowers coming off a big game last week. Another shootout game here. I love every single Zay Flowers prop there is.
There's only 2 of them now. They got rid of the receptions. It was at 5.5. Now it's 58.5 receiving yards, and longest receptions at 22.5.
And I love Terry McLaurin's receiving. I would smash both those two as absolute locks. And I like Austin Eckler's receiving at 20. So that's like a 3 card that's one of my favorite cards of the week.
Okay. Repeat that for me.
Zay McLaurin over receiving and Austin Eckler over 20 yards receiving. I have that in almost underdog, owners box, drafters. I have that card everywhere.
You know what's fucked up? Coming into this stream, I told myself, okay, I'm not going to make any more tickets. I have too many. I've made 10 more tickets.
I added $100, bro.
Well, we've been on stream. Yeah. It's this is why I like you guys though, because I make a lot of money with you guys, and the chat can too. You guys, all you got to do is use promo code DISCO when you sign up on drafters to double your initial deposit up to $100. First bet's on your boy. Let's go. Next game. First four. We're not going to talk about Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. We'll save that for Sleazeball stream tomorrow morning. I don't know how we're going to do it because when the game kicks off, I'm locked into football. I'm not doing streams, so we'll figure that out, Sleaze, because I'm down to go live before the morning game. Game 8. Game 8, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time. We've got the LA Chargers. This is another snooze fest for me. I absolutely hate this game, but I'll pull up my notes. We got the LA Chargers who are coming into Denver. The Chargers are 3-point favorites, actually, and the over-under is 33.5. I don't think the Chargers deserve to be favorites. I think recency bias for the first 2 weeks is definitely there. With that being said, the Chargers allow 21.75 pass completions per game. Bo Nix, his prop for passing completions is at, once again, 18.5 passing completions. He's gone over this marker 4 out of 5 games. He's a check down king. Love the over on 18.5 completions. This game is going to be an absolute snooze fest. It's going to be a defensive battle. I don't project a lot of touchdowns, but I can say that the Chargers will get into field goal position several times, and Cameron Dicker over 1.5 field goals made is one of the only props I'm willing to bet on for the LA Chargers. There is a vacancy here now in this matchup because this is a very plus matchup for both tight end rooms, but this is a terrible, like we alluded to earlier, this is a terrible like the Chig situation. It's just both tight end rooms are fucking terrible, but both of them have very opportunistic matchups. So who do we see checking in and filling that vacancy? My guess it's going to be Ladd McConkey for the Chargers, and for the Broncos, Little Jordan Humphrey. But with that being said, I'm not comfortable betting on either one of them. They are both tertiary options in DFS. Andrew, you're up, buddy. Talk to us.
Geez, first one on the dead board on this one. I see. The only thing
I took it on the chin, man.
all right. The only thing I like here are the kickers because this game's in Denver. It's at altitude and balls go farther. But you have to remember, these are two teams that, in terms of points allowed a game, are 1 and 2. Passing yards per game, bottom 5. Rush yards a game. I mean, Chargers are better, but because they really can't pass with diddly squat. So realistically, the only thing I would consider taking if I'm looking at the quarterbacks in this game, besides Hemlock, would be unders on their passing yards because Herbert at 177, Nix at 185. I could see both those going under. And yeah, this could be a field goal fest. If you remember that absolute crap game a few years back between Indy and Denver there at Mile High, that was like 9-9. This is about what it's going to feel like. It's going to be field goal fest, and that's what it's going to be. I can't really see a whole lot of success.
Make me a drink, please.
Hemlock. That's what I was saying for this one. Hemlock. Of course, you only take one shot of that, and it's over. But yeah, so I'm going under on the quarterbacks, and I feel I have to pick a position player over on the kickers. And after that, and after this game, just go ahead and pass the liquor. That's all I can pull.
Yeah. So breaking news, guys.
David Montgomery, bro. You're fucking kidding me with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, David Montgomery and Detroit have agreed to a 2-year deal for $18.5 million. Congratulations to David Montgomery. He is going to absolutely smash his matchup. Must start. Looking forward to getting to that game. Andrew, thank you for your breakdown there, sir. Absolutely great stuff. Dan, the man, you're up, Buttercup.
Totally agree. I think this low-scoring game, I love what both defenses are doing. Not in love with what either offense is doing. I actually like Bo Nix to throw a pick, and I actually like Justin Herbert to throw a pick here. Harbaugh's just phenomenal at this. He's had an extra week to prepare for Nix. Nix is a rookie quarterback. I think Harbaugh's going to set him up all day long to turn the ball over. This is how the Chargers have to win this game. And I feel the same exact way about Denver. I feel like, the way that their defense has been playing, I really have not been high on Herbert. He's just looks, a little different with this foot injury. I don't think he's coming back fully healthy. I had him for under passing yards, and I had him for under completions, but Lee's numbers are too low, and I'm not going under either one of those, and I'm not going over them because I had written down that I like the unders. So I'm not changing my tune and just trying to take advantage of low numbers. I'll stay away from it. Dobbins, I really like this 14.5 receiving yards. I feel like he's going to be bell cow role this week. Vidal's been a healthy scratch most games. Gus Bus is out. So I'm not thinking Vidal's coming in and being the pass receiving back this week or anything like that. Dobbins has been catching passes. He's a pretty good receiver. 14.5 receiving yards is a risk I'm willing to take. Same with Javonte Williams. This guy's really turned it on in the passing game recently. 18.5 receiving yards seems criminally low for him. I could see him easily having 4 or 5 catches this game. As we know, Nix is just a check down monster, and a really high percentage of these passes are going to the halfbacks. I'm staying away from McLaughlin. I think that things have shifted a little bit.
One second. Somebody's got a lot of background noise.
I got a party going on at my fucking house.
Yeah, if you could just click the mute button while you're not on the mic so we can hear Dan, that'd be great.
Where am I at?
Just hover over your camera.
Okay, and then I like the receiving yards, as I was saying about Javonte Williams. He's really been involved as a pass catcher at the last few games. I really like that. Cortland Sutton, I love his longest reception prop. I don't like him to have a lot of catches or even hit this 47.5 yards, but I can see them pushing the ball downfield to Sutton and him coming down with a 50-50 ball. I'm staying away from all the Chargers receivers. I hate anything against Denver's secondary. They're not just good at one secondary spot. They have 3 elite corners, and I'm staying away from Quentin Johnson. I know it's low. I'm staying away from McConkey. I know it's low. I'm staying away from Palmer. I know it's low. I just don't want to take chances. I'm not a big risk taker. I don't like being like the one that calls these shots. I like to try to keep things safe. And totally agree with Disco. Love the tight end matchups, just not taking a chance on any of these tight ends. I don't believe in any of the 4 tight ends that you might get it out of here between Trotman and Dulcich. Dulcich was a healthy scratch last week, by the way. Dicker and Lutz, I'm just staying away from it. I don't like this game too much. I'm ready to move on, but I don't have a lot to recommend. I'm avoiding most things here.
All right, Sleaze, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got something to present here, so I'm just going to add it to the
No,
stage.
save it for the end. Save it for the very end. Very
Okay.
end. I put it in private chat. Dude, this game, we have to talk about this game. This is gross. I'm gonna say I only like the kickers each, and I'd make a card with both kicker points, and that's it.
You're not going to, man. Like I will say, I'm kind of hurt here because like every week that 18.5.
I don't like the 18.5 this week.
Really?
I don't like it. I think
But
it's a run. I think it's a run.
It's smashed
heavy.
every week, Sleaze. It's smashed every week except for against the Jets.
Okay, I'll ride it with you. All right, let's make a card. I'll ride it.
I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to. You're your own man. You're your own man. I respect the hell out of you, and I'm okay. I'm okay with moving on to the next game, which is another game.
If I had to throw one in, I would throw in Hayden Hurst 17.5 receiving. I think even though I hate it, I love it.
I'm not touching it with your dick. All right. Next game, 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, Game 9. Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point favorites coming into Las Vegas. The over/under is a very low 36.5. Looking at my notes here, it's there. I mean, there's a lot of appealing opportunities and appealing matchups, but I will say Aiden O'Connell over 0.5 interceptions seems like an absolute lock. The Steelers defense averages over 1.2 interceptions per game. It kind of makes sense, especially with Aiden O'Connell. I do like that, but if you're not going to take that, I love Calvin Austin over his longest reception at 11.5 yards. I think that's free. The Raiders give up more than that on average per reception to wide receivers at 14.6. So definitely an outlier, definitely a free prop. I absolutely love it. And then whenever the receiving props for Jalen Warren come out, I'd like to take a look at those. So let's see if they're out. No, it's still not out. It's
12.5
for Jalen Warren.
Yep.
Really?
On owner's box. I'm looking at owner's box at the same time.
Oh. Okay, because I'm looking at,
so I can get all the props together.
I'm looking at drafters right now, and there's not a 23.5 rushing yards. I'm not betting on that. But yeah, Calvin Austin over 11.5. Longest reception seems pretty cool. I really do like that. And then do we have any confirmation on if Zamir White's playing this week?
He practiced. We don't know yet.
Let's go, Zamir White, week 6. Okay.
His props aren't up. So, I mean,
all right.
I don't think he's playing.
Dan, give me your best 3 props on. Well, you use Hard Rock, right?
I do. I use Hard Rock, but I've been keeping up here. I've been doing really good. I got my drafters open. I've set 5 tickets with you, and I am doing a much better job this week. So thank you for asking me to try to stay with us. I've done it. So
I appreciate you. Just do you have a promo code with Hard Rock?
Yeah, Hard Rock's I think Florida only. So
okay.
I would be happy to send you a promo code for Hard Rock if I can.
Okay. Before we get into that, let's just catch up with the chat because it's been a while. Sorry. Joe Ortiz says Washington defense is playing a little bit better. They could start to match offensive play. I mean, they do have a great coordinator. Peanut butter jelly. Fuck, we're way behind. Says agreed. Love McNichols this week with B Rob out. Interesting. Do you see Daniels doing good this week? Absolutely. Sup everyone? I'm late. What's up, Big King? Good to see you, buddy. I've got tons of Monty stock. It was actually 3 years for 18 million, not 2 years. Correction on my behalf. Peanut butter jelly time says, speaking of Chargers Broncos game, would you play either defense over the Bears this week? I would play either one of them over the Bears this week. I think the Bears defense is an absolute trap. Don't do it. And then Big King says, I think Dobbins is worth look roughly 3%. Hurt. I appreciate that. It's tough to project an anytime touchdown in that game, but I went ahead and took Cortland Sutton as my anytime. Actually, I just didn't take them in my parlay. I really didn't. All right, Dan, you're up, buddy.
Okay. I love Aiden O'Connell with an interception. I mean, that was one thing I had written down here also. It's actually the only prop that I like for Aiden O'Connell. Justin Fields, just staying away from everything Justin Fields related. The only thing that looks a little intriguing is this longest run for 11.5. I mean, he could do that real easy, but I'm staying away from it. Najee Harris, 58.5 rushing yards. I do like that prop. Vegas has been getting just killed by running backs, starting with Chuba Hubbard a few games ago. And I just see Arthur Smith kind of feeding Najee more and more lately. I know Warren's coming back, but I could see 58.5 yards being something I'm willing to take a chance on. Dude, I'm just like really disappointed in George Pickens. I drafted him a ton in best ball. The dude's a head case. I love him.
It's Arthur Smith, because we said the same thing about Drake London. It's fucking Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith, right? And this 44.5 receiving yards seems too good to be true, right?
I'm
And
smashing
21.5 yards, longest reception feels too good to be true, right? I just am staying away from it because my style is to try to be safe. And right now, nothing involved with George Pickens feels safe to me. On the other side of the ball, I think that Trey Tucker with 16.5 yards, longest reception, is a smash. I mean, this guy is not a little slot receiver. I know he's not tall, but he gets downfield. He tracks the ball well. Pittsburgh does give up some big chunk plays, and I like the 16.5 yards. I do, like Bowers here. 54.5 receiving yards is a little steep for me. I don't think I'm going to click it, but I do like him in this game. I would definitely smash him in my DFS lineups and stuff like that. Same with Freiermuth. I think the 30.5 yards is pretty okay. I think I got to go with the 30.5 yards for Freiermuth. I have his matchup score as 37. It's insanely high. That has a lot to do with Pro Football Focus matchup and not as much to do with what the Raiders have given up to tight ends. So despite the fact the Raiders haven't given up huge yardage or a ton of catches, Pro Football Focus does recognize this as a plus matchup for Freiermuth, and Fields does feed the tight end. So I don't know why they don't have the Steelers kicker on here. Boswell seems like a really good play this week. I have him in a parlay already on Hard Rock, and it's screwed up that Drafters doesn't have him on here. I maybe everybody's just betting that, and they don't want to lose everything.
It's at 7.5. I have it in like 10 tickets.
Yeah, okay. I love that, but it's not on here, but I love it.
All right. Thank you for the breakdown. Great breakdown. Correction on my long anytime touchdown parlay, I added Quentin Johnston to it. So fuck my life. Fuck my life big time. That's going to be the one that fails me. Andrew, did we get you and Sleaze on this game?
No, I haven't said anything yet, and there's really not a whole lot to say here. To answer the Zamir White question, he was DNP Wednesday and Thursday with a groin injury, limited Friday, questionable for Sunday, but I don't really like him or Alexander Madison, really anybody else they have back there as a running back, so it doesn't really matter. Najee Harris over 58.5. I'll take that one because this is a great game for him to showcase, for the Steelers to showcase Najee because they declined his fifth-year option. Then hell, if Carolina can beat Vegas, Pittsburgh can beat Vegas. This is like a game for Najee out and go for it. On the Vegas side, the only one I like is Daniel Carlson over 6.5 kicker points because he's hit from beyond 50 at least twice in each of the last 5 postseasons. With that kind of a leg and ineptitude of the Raiders offense, I can easily see 3 field goals happening in this game, or maybe 2 and an extra point if Vegas actually does something right with Aiden O'Connell. So I'm going to go over 6.5 kicker points.
I love it. Sleazimus Decimus Meridius, you're up, Buttercup.
Guys, get your pen and paper out. This is one of my favorite game locks right here. So take Justin Fields over the 11.5 rush. You can take Jalen Warren, longest rush.
Okay.
Longest rush. Take Jalen Warren over the 23.5. They're going to ground and pound the shit out of the Raiders. And their third lock right here is going to be Brock Bowers at 54.5 with no Devontae Adams and no Jacoby Myers. Who else are they going to throw to? The Pittsburgh defense is number 1, but they're weak versus the tight end. Brock Bowers is going to absolutely smash this week again. I have a $50 slip on those 3, by the way.
All right. I just killed it. And shout out to my guy, Fantasy Dog. Like, you don't have to do this, but he always shows up and he always gets a membership. Yeah, thank you, man. Like, not just but I know everybody in the community absolutely loves the hell out of you. Not because you keep gifting us with memberships. You don't have to do that. But you always just come and show love and spread positivity, buddy. You are, a pillar of our community, and we're very grateful to have you, buddy. We love you, and I appreciate you.
Why is there no Boswell prop though? Yeah, I just refreshed drafters. I was looking at owner's box.
I think people were just smashing the over on his prop too much, so drafters decided.
That's a lock of mine as well.
Yeah, they decided to put a timer on it. All right, Armando Zapeta, what's up, buddy? He says Dak or Love. I'm leaning Dak Prescott based off of game script. It's a very plus matchup for their passing game, very negative matchup for their rushing game. So we're going to see a lot of passing. If Dak can take care of the football, he has QB1 upside. And I'm going with Olave over T. Higgins because I think Spencer Rattler unlocks Olave, which is a very good buy low option if you can make the trade right now. And Fantasy Doc says, like number 22, Rousseau, good to see you, brother. Andrew, hello, my friend. Fantasy Dog, we love you, buddy. Sorry to burst your bubble, but this is a get-right game for Vegas D. Very interesting. Without Christian Wilkins, it's tough to say that, but, I mean, it's definitely an option. I'm very thankful for this network. We're very thankful to have you. All right, guys, you ready to move on to the next game?
Only because it was Carolina. Yeah, we can do it.
Sweet. All right, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, Game 12 in the second last game of our show. We got the Atlanta Falcons, who are 6-point favorites, coming into Carolina Panthers. The over-under is 47. I think Atlanta puts up 47 in the first half. I think they cover the spread quite easily, but I will stick to my notes here because I did take notes. It is very easy to get overwhelmed and abuse the overs in every Atlanta statistical category. So I went with the ones with the highest likelihood. I will say the passing yards and the passing completions for Kirk Cousins, I actually like the under on it. I like the under on it because here's why. If we're looking just at the numbers are skewed, right? If we're looking at pass attempts, it's actually the 28th worst matchup for Atlanta coming against Carolina. They only allow 28.8 pass attempts, and then it's the 18th worst matchup when it comes to pass completions at 20.4. But here's how the numbers are skewed. 232.4 passing yards they allow, which is 11th best. So with that being said, when we're looking at Kirk Cousins props, I got to scroll all the way down here because I keep tailing props. So when we're looking at Kirk Cousins props, I like the under in a lot of the props that we have here for Cousins. Almost there, and I'm going to pull it up. Give me 1 sec, guys. All right, here we go. So right now, the numbers are super inflated. 252.5 passing yards. I kind of like the under here. 22.5 completions. Also like the under here. He doesn't run. 255.5. I like the under, but it's not a lock. It's not a lock, but I do like it. But the numbers are skewed, so just be cautious when you guys go make your own tickets. I just wanted to put that out there. So let's go back to my notes. Panthers rank as the fourth most advantageous matchup when it comes to rush yards. They allow 120 rush yards to running backs per game. Bijan prop is currently at 69.5 yards. Tyler Algier prop is at 38.5 yards. I'm taking the over on both. Generally taking the over on both. Panthers allow 147 receiving yards per game to wide receivers, but only 11.2 receptions. Translation, chunk plays, longest reception for all 3 wide receivers are in play. Also, Panthers allow 50 receiving yards, 2 tight ends per game. Kyle Pitts' receiving prop is currently at 34.5. They allow 5.2 receptions, so that means that the longest reception is also in play. I'm smashing the over on all of those. I'm not touching a single fucking prop for the Carolina Panthers. I'm pairing this with the Will Levis prop that I have absolutely naked. I think it's free money. Lock it in, follows. Ladies and gentlemen, Sleaze, you're up next, buddy. Talk to me. What do you like? What do you dislike?
I will give you one prop from the Panthers that I am very interested in that I actually think is going to be an absolute lock, and that is Andy Dalton over 21.5 completions. They're going to be playing this game from behind. Atlanta is very good at stopping the run, and they are going to have to pass heavy in this game. And I think you're going to see a massive Dalton game where he has, 37, 40 attempts like week 3 and 4. Now, when I go to the Falcons side here, Bijan and Algier, I tweeted it. I put it in both videos. You nailed that 100%. I love the rush yards for both of them. Absolutely. I want to say Deontay Johnson because the Falcons funnel a lot to the wide receiver 1, but 62.5 is kind of high. I'd be kind of interested to see Xavier Legette. He got injured in the first quarter last week. He had 10 targets the week before that, so 3.5 receptions. That's enticing. And Kyle Pitts, longest reception or receiving yards. I love those both as locks. And if they had Younghoe Koo, I would have him on there, but he's not on there as a kicker. On owner's box, he's at 8 points. I'm still willing to take that.
And if you guys do want to jump on owner's box, use promo code DISCO to double your initial deposit up to $250. That's where we do a lot of our DFS stuff. Let's go Andrew N next. Talk to us, buddy. What do you like about this game? By the way, great breakdown there, Sleazemo.
Yes, thank you. All right, so here's the 4-bagger I put together for this one. I always like to put it in groups of 4. I agree with the Pitts over 34.5 receiving yards. That one seems pretty solid there. I'm going to go Tyler Algier over 38.5 rushing yards because they're not going to need Bijan all day. Bijan's going to be spending a lot of time on the bench in the second half. Here comes Tyler Algier, who a lot of people forget that the year before Bijan got there, Algier ran for 1,000 yards. This guy can do it. Deontay over 62.5 receiving yards because the Panthers have to play catch-up. And after the egg he laid last week, I think it's time for Deontay to rebound. And then the one I really like is give me the over on Ray McLeod at 40.5 receiving yards. 4 of his 5 games this season, he's been at 42 or more. This seems like it should be a relatively easy feed, and then this way it gives Atlanta an option to throw to later in the game when this thing gets out of hand. So Drake London is sitting. Darnell Mooney is sitting. Kyle Pitts is probably sitting. Who are they going to throw it to? My man Ray
And Hodges. Great breakdown, buddy. Love it. Dan, the man, take us home on this one.
Staying away from Dalton, staying away from Cousins. Bijan has a smash matchup, but I am just so disappointed with him. One thing that stands out to me is his receiving yards, 22.5. I like that. I also like the longest reception at 12.5. I have 22.5 on my card, but I could go with 12.5. Actually, for Chuba Hubbard, one thing that's sticking out to me is 10.5 yards longest reception. I have written down here under longest reception for Chuba Hubbard.
Oh my!
So Atlanta is not giving up a lot of yards per catch to the running back. They play, kind of keep everything in front of you style defense.
And they rallied.
I like this 10.5-yard under for Chuba for longest catch. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, I really like Drake London and Darnell Mooney both at 21.5-yard longest reception. And I'm going to play both of them for over 21.5 yards longest reception. I could see London doing it in air yards, and I could see Mooney doing it in catch and run. And then I agree with Andrew with Kyle Pitts over 34.5 receiving yards. I'm not a big Kyle Pitts guy, but that's low. He's getting more and more involved, and I have him marked down on my tight end matchup sheet for over receiving yards. And then one thing I'd like to talk about, last thing I'd like to talk about is Eddie Pinheiro. This guy's only missed one field goal this year. I feel like I wanted to do over 1.5 field goals made, but 6.5 kicker points kind of makes a little more sense to me. I think they'll score more than 6 points in this game. And the Falcons are leading the NFL in field goals against. They're giving up 3 field goals against their team every single week on average. So if there's just one kicker to bet the over for 1.5 field goals made this week, it's Eddie Pinheiro. But in this case, Drafters has it set up that I think I'm going to lean towards the 6.5 kicker points.
I love it. All right. Let's address the chat before we go to the next game. Joe Ortiz says, I'm starting Algier in the league. I don't blame you. I just started doing Fantasy Dog. Our guy says, I just started doing parlays. Love it. And I get all my picks from all y'all. I appreciate all the work you do. Massive. It's nice to be appreciated because we do put in a heck of a lot of time. I know Dan does. I know Andrew does. I know Sleazeball does. And I promise you, I fucking do too. So I appreciate you guys. Fantasy Doc says, Sleaze. Hubba Chubba says Joe Ortiz. Hubba Bubba. All right. Chip a Fool says Slayton or Downs. Fuck, it's a smash matchup for Slayton. I'd start everybody against the Bengals. But Joshua Downs and Anthony Richardson is a very special combination. I really like Joshua Downs. I think his ceiling's through the roof. He's criminally underrated, continuing to produce, but be criminally underrated. I'm going to go with Downs. Anybody else have a different take?
Slayton is not going to do it again, man. I know the matchup looks great. I just don't trust it.
Yeah.
He popped once. Everyone gets on that train. Everyone's going to be really disappointed after Slayton drops
It is a really good matchup, though.
It is. It's amazing. Yeah. I just don't trust him.
I think this is a Wandell week, personally. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to put him in some of the Drafters DFS lineups. Remember to do that. Slayton at Ship a Fool says Joe Ortiz. I respectfully disagree. I was just offered my choice. This is from Peanut Butter Jelly. I was just offered my choice 2 of 3 from Jacob Swift and DJ Moore from my Bijan. Take it. Shit. Fuck.
Oh my God.
I would invest, you can't take Swift and DJ Moore. So I would say Jacobs and DJ Moore. Wait.
Dude, Chicago Bears schedule is fantasy fucking gold. I don't care if you get both. They're both 20 points a game right now. So hang on. I would take that trade.
Yeah, no, I would take the trade too, but I would go DJ Moore and Josh Jacobs.
That's what I'd go with. DJ Moore and Josh Jacobs.
That way, you're getting some sort of versatility elsewhere because,
dude, Marshawn Lloyd coming out of IR.
Do we believe? Okay, so let me ask you this question: do we believe that Emmanuel Wilson can push Josh Jacobs out of the starting role?
No, but Marshawn Lloyd can push him for some snaps.
Okay, but they push him out of the starting role?
No.
Okay, can Roshan Johnson push or Khalil Herbert push DeAndre Swift out? I think they can, and we've seen it. And we will continue to see it. But that's just my my take, and I'll stand on it. All right, last game of the slate, fellas. This game should be
slaughter knocker.
It should be a lot of points, but I feel like the game script is very very skewed. So I'll talk about the game script and how I project it going. Okay, but first let's talk about the game. Give you guys all the deets. 4:25 p.m. Eastern time. This is game 11. This is the Detroit Lions, who are actually 3-point favorites coming into Dallas. The over/under is 52.5, by far the highest on the entire week. So here's how I project the game going. Okay, you have one team that cannot run the ball, and you have one team that runs the ball very well. I think we're going to see chunk plays to wide receivers, but not volume when it comes to the Detroit Lions, especially Sam Laporta, as well as just a receiving target. I think both David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are both startable. You should definitely play them both if you have both of them, and you should definitely put them in your DFS lineups because they're both going to absolutely smash. On the other side, Dak Prescott has no running game. The running game is going to be absolutely useless, and it's not just that their running game sucks. And yes, they had a good matchup against a really good defense last week. It's not just the running game sucks. It's that Detroit Lions defense against the run has been exceptional, but where the opportunity lies is when it comes to CeeDee Lamb against that receiving core, that defensive back. The receivers have a very plus matchup. With that being said, it's going to be Dak and CeeDee and Jake Ferguson and maybe Turpin or one of the other Schmees there. Schmee means bottom feeder, if you didn't know. And it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, and then somebody catching a chunk play for a touchdown after they just beat the shit out of them. So we'll talk about my favorite props here. And I decided to stick to two because, like, you could get carried away with these. So I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, longest reception. Yes, the receiving yards is very enticing at, 88.5 right now. But the longest reception, I think, is an absolute smash. I believe it's at 23.5. Detroit allows the most receptions, completions, and receiving yards to the wide receiver position. Any of Lamb's over props are an absolute smash unless there's an injury. But if there's an injury, it will be voided. Cowboys allow the sixth most receiving yards to the running back. So over 20.5 receiving yards for Jahmyr Gibbs is also a smash. And the longest reception is currently at 12.5 for his longest reception. I love that one more than I love the actual receiving yards. But with that being said, those are my two locks. I think if Dak can do something special, this is going to be one of the best fantasy football games we've ever seen from a quarterback wide receiver duo ever. But if Dak can't take care of the ball, it's going to be another Cowboys bust. So, like, we are in line for one of the most exciting or one of the most disappointing games of football. And let's also remember, last time that these two teams played, there was a lot of drama where a guy on an extra point, he either checked in or didn't check in, and they got pushed back on a penalty, and instead of kicking the convert and getting the points and tying the game and then going to overtime, what Dan Campbell decided to do was to go for two again, and completely just a terrible coaching decision. But besides the point, Andrew, you're up, Buttercup. Talk to us.
All right, three-bagger on this one for Detroit and Dallas. Staying away from the obvious ones, we'll go a little bit deeper here. It's time for Sam Laporta to show up. His prop is over 40.5 receiving yards, and he's really been kind of sleepy to start the season. But the last couple games, even when he missed part of that game against Arizona, he had 2 for 36, 453 last week against Seattle. I think he's going to get over the 40. It may not be by a whole hell of a lot, but I think he's going to get his. Moneybags Montgomery gets more than 1.5 receptions. I think that with the way he's been catching the ball this year, he's averaging about 2 a game. So to me, I'm going to go with that one. And the last one I want here is Brandon Aubrey, the kicker for the Cowboys, over 7.5 kicking points. He's only had one game this year where he's only had under 7.5, and that was 7 when they lost to Baltimore. He had 2 field goals and an extra point that week. Every other week this season, he's been at least 8 points. And the first 2 weeks, he was double-digit kicking points. To me, I'm kicking it with Aubrey, and I'm splitting the uprights right in my wallet.
Love it. Dan the man.
Love this game. So excited to watch this game. First off, I'll say the Lions running backs have my highest matchup score this week, and it's not even remotely close. I mean, their matchup score is 16 points higher than the next closest running back. The only problem is they're splitting everything like 50-50. And I noticed last week they're basically rotating drives for the most part. So yeah. Montgomery gets a drive, Gibbs gets a drive. Montgomery gets a drive, Gibbs gets a drive. And if somebody gets banged up, they spell each other. But for the most part, they're rotating drives. And that being said, Montgomery and Gibbs are being used almost exactly the same. And I think we all think of Gibbs as the pass receiving back and Montgomery as kind of the grinder or the closer. But Montgomery's been more and more involved with the passing game. I know last week he had like a 40 or a 50-yard catch. All that being said, I'm going to lean towards safe. I'm going to go 58.5 rushing yards for Montgomery, and I'm going to go 21.5 receiving yards for Gibbs. But I would feel perfectly comfortable doing 1.5 receptions for Montgomery and 60.5 rushing yards for Gibbs. But what I'd like to warn against is doing the same thing for each guy. Like, I don't want 60 yards from Gibbs and 60 yards from Montgomery, even though it might happen. I think it's smart to mix your card up and hope that you get that right. I had under for Dowdle for rushing yards. I had him under for receiving yards, but these numbers are too low. I'm just going to stay away from it. Like I said before, I don't like taking chances, even though these are low. I had under written down, and just because they're low, I'm not going to change my tune on that. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just about a lock and a dome for 78.5 yards. I don't really have him as like a plus matchup here or anything, but anytime he's playing in a dome, I think 100 yards is just about a guarantee. Same could be said about CD. I don't know what I like more here, receiving yards, receptions, or longest reception. I love them all. I think I'm going to lean with the receiving yards here in this ticket. I love Jalen Tolbert this week. I'd pick him up and start him if he's available in your fantasy league. This guy is a guy I have in about – I think I have him in 44 drafters, 1,000,003 lineups out of 150. So Jalen Tolbert is my version of Trey Tucker to Sleaze. He's my guy I've been beating the drum for all year. I also have Trey Tucker like 37 times, so I was with Sleaze on that. But I love Tolbert. He was a camp standout. He's getting his chance. I like both of these, 44.5 yards, 18.5 yards longest reception. I'm going to smash that. He's hit that every game, I think, since he started playing a lot. JMO, he just scares me. I think he's a guy that could be good, could be bad. I like to lean safe. I'm staying away from him. Jake Ferguson, man. I mean, this guy is my tight end one this week. I just love Jake Ferguson. And I love his longest reception. You know, the guy's he's running the seam routes. He's catching and turning the ball upfield and punishing people. He jumps over people. The guy is like Josh Allen at tight end. He's hard to bring down. He's scary when he gets the ball in his hands. I'm staying away from Laporta this week. Nothing really stands out to me with Laporta. He's been a disappointment to me. I don't have anything written down here for him. Brandon Aubrey's probably the best kicker in the league. He's the new Justin Tucker. I mean, he's a lock for 7.5 points every week. I think if you bet him for over 7.5 points every week, you're probably going to win 14 out of 17 weeks. Brandon Aubrey is a no-brainer to me. I got just about a whole ticket just from this game, and I could have a whole ticket from this game, but I'm not putting Prescott on this ticket because I want CD and Tolbert to be on this ticket. So I put Prescott on my last ticket as my 10th thing, and I started this ticket with Gibbs and Montgomery so I can have everything I want.
What did you like the most? Longest reception for Tolbert?
I love longest reception for Tolbert. 18.5 yards. The guy's getting it every game.
Okay, I like that.
All right, good breakdown there, Dan. Thank you for all your work, man. You're absolutely phenomenal, especially going through the whole hurricane ordeal, like being in the center of it and still, taking the time to give these. Like, here's the thing, guys. Dan's parlays are absolutely fucking phenomenal. They're absolutely incredible. So when he talks, guys, you guys got to listen. Sleaze, take us home, buddy. And I know you got a question here with your fantasy advice.
Oh, I do at the end. Yeah, I want to hear your guys' opinion on that. But so I have a 6-piece card here. I like so much from this game. I've done a 6-piece, I've done a 4-piece, and a 2-piece. So you can break down any of the 6 you like from this game. I'm going with Dak Prescott over 283 yards as an absolute smash. Geno Smith just threw for 400 against them. So I'm fully fine with that. They didn't get healthy off the bye with any of the injuries for the Detroit Lions defense. They still have their 2 starters in the secondary that are out. Emmanuel Mosley's not back yet, I don't believe. So that's going to hurt them as well. And I love CeeDee Lamb, all of them. So receiving yards, longest reception. I love both those. I'm going to go with the yards like Dan said. I like Jahmyr Gibbs receiving and longest reception, but I like the longest reception better at 12.5. Brandon Aubrey, I'm playing him every single week for kicking points. That's just incredibly dumb that they put it at 8 points. The guy can get 20 a game. And I like Jamison Williams' longest reception at 21.5. I really, really think he's going to hit a bomb in this game. It's a shootout game. And David Montgomery, I have rushing at 89, so I think that's like an outlier right there. I think he crushes 60.
Okay. All right. Should I share your screen?
Yeah, you can share it. So this is my 12-man league, 5-0 roster. I'll back it up for you. I want to see what you guys would do here. If you guys can see, well,
it's a little small.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so starting is Caleb Williams, Jaden Reed, Devonta Smith, ETN, Montgomery, Kincaid, Tracy Jr., right? But my bench is so loaded, I don't know what to do. Tank Dell, Pickens, Bucky Irving, Spears, Jefferson, Allen on my bench.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Is Dalton Schultz available in your waivers?
Dalton Schultz is not available on the waivers.
Okay. The only place where I think that like you will
I'm talking like Bucky, Pickens, Tank Dell, or Devonta Smith or Tracy. That's the 5 I'm mixing and matching.
I would swap out Devonta Smith for Tank Dell. I think it's just a better matchup, more favorable there.
That's what I think as well, but I've been doing it.
And then I think if we're talking about like pure workload and opportunity, especially if it's PPR format, I'd go Bucky over Tracy.
Oh, I think Tracy's going to smash Cincy.
I think Tracy's going to smash as well. But if we're just talking about full-on workload, Tracy's still going second fiddle behind.
You saw 20 touches last week.
Devin Singletary was out this week.
No, it was behind Gray.
What would it take to get them both in the lineup?
A lot, because I have fucking Montgomery and ETN at running back. Jaden Reed is the other receiver.
Ah, man, that whole ETN situation's got me a little nervous.
I think he crashes this week.
I lean towards a bell cow back over ETN right now, even though I love the matchup for Jags running backs.
I'm just thinking ETN pops this week. I'm not taking him out, but I can see the point. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't really think Bucky's a bell cow yet either, man. He's small, dude. It's gonna look different.
He's the bell cow this week.
I know, but I don't think he's gonna be a full type bell cow. These are like Tyrone Tracy kind of status. They'll rotate in and out. I don't know. I just have such a stacked lineup. I don't know what to do.
I don't even know who the next running back is there. That's how
I think
I know every player in the entire NFL pretty much, and I cannot think of who the RB3 is there.
It's White, right? Not White, not Rashad White, but the small guy, Sean Tucker. Is that it? Let me see.
No, nobody I'm worried about.
All right. With that being said, my wife's cooking dinner. It smells absolutely delicious. I appreciate you guys.
Sean Tucker,
guys. Thank you for everything. If you guys look here, I put the link for my good friends at the Patrick Pucci Fantasy Football Show. They're actually live right now. Do me a favor, right? Head over there, type in Disco Raid like this, and type in Disco Raid like this. Smash them a sub. Hit them with the Disco Raid. Go show some support to those guys. They're all good dudes, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for chopping it up with us. And as always, we really appreciate you. We'll be live tomorrow morning at some point on Sleazeball's stream, guys. My mind is a weapon fantasy football. If you're not subscribed there, fix your life. Thank you, Sleazeball. Thank you, Dan, NFL DFS Picks. Thank you, Andrew N. I gotta go.
Great show today, guys.
Delicious, guys. That was a phenomenal show. You guys brought all the information, and I really appreciate you guys for rocking it out for 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Tomorrow morning, if you guys are in the stream, it will just be we're covering the Sunday game, and then we're taking questions the whole time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, guys. Once again, head over there. Smash them a sub. Say hashtag Disco Raid. Would really appreciate it, guys. Until next time, tomorrow morning. Peace.
Later, guys. Great show. See you, chat.
Hey, Andrew.